to Mark Out of 10, the wrestling podcast where opinions mean everything and nothing at the same time. Tonight we're going to talk about rumours, news, and obviously our top 10 list of feuds in wrestling. First of all, I am the Mark's Mark Shields, and my co-host, the maestro of microphone mayhem, your podcasting pugilist, the aficionado of grappling gossip, the housewife's favourite heel, Hoxie. How are you doing, Hoxie?
I'm very, very good, mate. How are you doing? What are you saying?
Not too bad.
How's everybody listening? How's everybody watching? Hope we're doing all right. Hope we're doing all right.
I've got a good feeling about tonight's episode. I think it's going to be really interesting.
It's going to be fun. We can cut into the wrestling. Let me just rearrange my camera a little bit. It keeps moving a little bit. Sorry, guys. Mega unprofessional. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. What does pugilist mean? I don't even know. The hell is that? You're way more intelligent than me. A fighter?
It's like a fighter. It's remember, who was it? It was Chris Eubank. He wasn't a boxer. He was a pugilist.
I'm not a boxer.
Exactly.
I am a pugilist.
Indeed, that's exactly what he did. It's uncanny. It's like he's sitting in front of me. So we had a really great reception in terms of the camera and stuff. So I think it is working. It looks quite cool. It makes creating content for the different social medias really easy. Or say easy.
Guess what we're on as well.
Shit.
Should we tell them, John? Should we tell them what we're on right now?
I know. Well,
we're cool.
Let's run through all of our socials we've got just now. We're very, very much cool kids. So
we are the cool kids.
You've heard it all before. If you haven't listened to the podcast before, why not? Go back and listen to our back catalogue. Available on all your favourite podcasting platforms, Spotify, Apple, YouTube, etc., etc. We have an email address if you want to email your comments, if you want to email your own lists, questions to us. It's wrestlemark10@gmail.com. You could tweet us at mark_out of10. We've got our YouTube channel that you can comment on. Also like that and subscribe to it. It doesn't cost you anything, so just go and do it. We are on Instagram at markout of10, so like and DM and do all the Instagram shiz. We're also now on TikTok, Hoxie. We are cool kids.
Definitely. We had some really good engagement and views and stuff on TikTok. We went on literally within a couple of days. We had a lot of views on there. It was good.
Yeah, not bad. So
apparently
I think we've only posted
I've heard it's the future. Apparently, TikTok is the future.
It's the next big thing. Sorry, Brock, you shat the bed there. But yeah, so with TikTok, we've posted 4 or 5. Good shit. We posted 4 or 5 things, and the algorithm seems to have picked up in a very slow way to start with, but hopefully we'll get there as time goes on. And there's more to come. So yes, there will be more shorts, more TikToks. You name it, it's going to go up there. I'll try my damnedest to get them out. Might not be daily, but as near as damn. Another bit of exciting news. You may have seen it on our Instagram post that we are working with a company called streamerwear.co.uk. And we have our very first piece of Mark Out of 10 merch, Hoxie. It is a hoodie. It's available. There is going to be more as time goes on.
Yep.
So a really cool hoodie. I think it is on sale just now. We've put there's a cut down price on it. It's going to be at streamerwear.co.uk.
Introductory price. It's for basically all the OG fans wanting to get involved in the merch. Definitely. Again, it'll be limited edition for the first X amount of time. We haven't worked out how much time yet, but you could be one of the first people with a Moo 10 podcast.
If you do purchase one, make sure you take a photo, put it on Instagram, put it on Twitter, and hashtag Moo10. Make sure you do that, and tell us how awesome the hoodie is. The hoodies are great quality, so obviously I do a lot of streaming, Hoxie does as well, and we know the guy that runs streamerwear.co.uk. The quality is exceptional, so you can find all of our merchandise, our own unique merchandise. I believe there's a few wrestlers on there as well. There's a dick called Dante, I think he's on there as well.
He's absolute
He's got his own stuff.
Jeb end. Never met anyone like him in my life. Prick.
Total bell end. But yeah, there are more merch coming out. Hopefully soon, but we'll start off with the hoodie because hoodies are cool, right?
Tell you what I'm going to do for the first 5 people that buy a Mark Out of 10 piece of merchandise or a Dante piece of merchandise on streamerwear.co.uk. If you leave your telephone number with the purchase of it, which is probably part of the sign up or whatever, or the order, I will personally call you and say thank you very much for purchasing that piece of merchandise. You'll get a personal phone call from Hawksy to say thank you and have a chat about wrestling.
And it won't just be heavy breathing down the line. So
you're
a lucky individual.
It's the usual call, but you'll get a nice one. You'll get a personal phone call from Hawk7 chatting about wrestling and a personal thank you. There you go. A little bit of added extra.
There you go. Absolutely. I might just go and buy 5 of them just now, Hawksy. 5 separate phone calls.
Oh dear, I have enough fucking 2 hours every week with you, mate, chatting shit on here, so I don't think you want to hear my voice anymore.
You love it, you slag. Yeah, but going back to it, it's been a decent week. Work has been sort of kicking my ass. I've got a day off tomorrow. I've got a works night out tomorrow night, so going through to Edinburgh for that. But don't worry, the podcast will get edited.
A bad decision is going to be made on Saturday.
What we do? I'm sure I've got something to do on Saturday. It'll be fine. Oh, it's my sister's birthday on Saturday, so yeah, I've got to drop her a present off, so I can't get too mental on the Friday.
Happy birthday, Mrs. Bun.
And then on Sunday, happy birthday, Bun. And then it's my wife's mum's birthday on the Sunday, so
it's all going off.
A busy old weekend for Shields. What? I know, it's mental. What about yourself, Hoxie? What's been happening?
I had a show on Saturday night for Top Turnbuckle Wrestling, TTW, based over in Purton. Really, really good night. Really fun night. I'll say really fun. I'm a bit pissed off and a bit annoyed. I actually took my second loss in that company on Saturday night. I was absolutely blindsided by a little scrot of a man called Eric Battleborn. So on March the 2nd, he will be getting his ass kicked all over the gaff as payback. So screw you, Eric. Well, in fact, it's not PG on here, is it? Fuck you, Eric Battleborn. You just fucking wait, mate. But apart from that, it was a good night and it was good fun. So yeah, Purton Civic Centre, March.
Sweet address 8. It'll be an interesting event. So yeah, it'll be good. Is he going to get got? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. If you fuck around enough, you end up finding out, don't you? So his scale, he's fucked around a lot, and he's gonna find out quite quickly. So yeah, the housewife's favourite heel.
There, you heard it there first.
Some motherfuckers up.
The near fall Nostradamus. Okay. Right. So before we go into our list, as I say, it's the top 10 of our favourite feuds in wrestling, or biggest feuds in wrestling. We're going to talk about the news. It's we enjoy doing the sort of news segments on Mark Out of 10, and last week we were talking about the Cody Rhodes and the fact that he gave up his spot against Roman Reigns after winning the Rumble, and we were a bit flat because of it, but I did say last week, I still think there was a twist in the tail. I thought something was going to happen, and my God, was there a twist in the tail. We have the People's Champion, The Rock, going proper heel. And it's been confirmed that it's going to be Roman versus Cody at Mania.
It was all based around the, oh my God, what's it called? The press conference, wasn't it?
Press conference.
Last week.
Presser, yep.
Which, in my opinion, we had a quick chat about this, obviously, it was literally like cinema to me. It was amazing. It was incredible. The only bit of it that I watched was that main event part with The Rock and Cody and all that sort of stuff. It was just beautiful. It was just a great piece of television, really. I think they really did have to call that audible and get out of the situation that they found themselves in. And I think they've done it really well. I really enjoyed the subtleness of a Seth Rollins like face turn at the end of it, sort of sticking up for Cody. It was very, very subtle, so it's left it a little bit. It's almost a bit like ambiguous, isn't it? It's a little bit open to like whatever, so they can go one way or the other. So it was very, very clever the way they did that. But Cody coming out and just calling it all bullshit, and The Rock giving him the old slap, the old bitch slap, and what was it, the Cody Crybabies?
Cody Crybabies.
The Cody Crybabies, like that's a T-shirt right there. That's some merch. But I just think it was very interesting. I think they realised quite quickly that they dropped their arse with what they did. So they were like, let's do it. They made lemonade with lemons, shall we say, which
Absolutely.
is definitely what they need us to do. So yeah, I'm excited for it. I'm all jacked up, Mountain
Yeah.
Dew.
Whoa! Yeah, I mean, it's you said they called the Audible, and I think the Audible works so well because we're talking about four very experienced guys. Okay, it's like in terms of The Rock has been there; he's done it for decades, essentially, right? And then you've got Seth Rollins, who has been wrestling since he was 15, and then you've got Roman Reigns, who, granted, he was very green when he came into WWE, but he's main evented the last fucking umpteen WrestleManias, and then you've got
Yep.
Cody, who, again, we all know my opinions on Cody, but you know he is a guy. I didn't sort of think he's the guy, but he's a guy. He's done it. You know, he's done it away from WWE. He hasn't had the machine behind him,
Mm-hmm.
which, you know, absolute props. So there's four really experienced guys there. So the Audible, although it's obvious it was an Audible, it didn't look like an Audible at the same time, if that makes sense. You know, it looked real legit, which was really cool.
Yeah.
But you know, so it's Cody versus Roman at Mania. That's been confirmed. How's the Rock going to fit into this? What if you're looking into your crystal ball of wrestling? How do you see the Rock fitting into this match? Because obviously, in the subsequent Raw, we've heard Seth say to Cody that he's the perfect Shield. You know, a throwback to Shield, obviously, for Cody, which was really nice.
Yep.
How do you think the Rock's going to fit into this whole scenario?
Every single time you've asked me this question, I've had solutions but answers, like actual, like, well, it could be this or it could be that. It could be maybe if I was to book it, I would book it this way or whatever. I'm going to be honest with you now. I really don't know what they can do here. They've they wanted to go in a direction. Obviously, we know that because they've changed their mind. And the fact that they've had to change their mind, and they have changed their mind, leaves everything like in a bit of limbo. Like, we know it's going to be Cody and Rock. Do we do the 2-night thing again? Do we have a different main? You know what I mean? Like, on the first night, on the first night we have the Roman and the Rock, and on the second night we have the Cody and the Roman. Like, it's kind of the only way they can do it. But they also can't do it that way as well, because it sort of takes away from them both a little bit. It's really hard.
I've
really
seen
tough.
something. I've seen something on Twitter. I don't know if you've seen it, right? But I'll walk me through it. You know that I don't think that Roman is going to lose to Cody, right? I reckon Roman's going to go over. I've said that from the get go, right? I have said that.
Yes.
Now,
Yeah.
whether that's right or wrong is something. So this is what I saw on Twitter, and it actually plays out a little bit. So we know it's going to be Cody and Seth versus Roman and Rock at Elimination Chamber, right?
Okay.
What I saw on Twitter was it's going to be, so I'm going to go right from the beginning. Gunther is going to go up against Jey Uso for the Intercontinental Championship at Elimination Chamber, right? Jey beats Gunther, okay? It then leads to Jimmy versus Jey for the Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania. Cody versus Roman for the WWE Universal title. Rock versus Seth for the World Heavyweight title. Bloodline has all the gold.
All the gold.
That's what I saw on Twitter. And then what they could do is obviously Rock versus Roman for whatever, for the tribal chief, and then they could unify the titles, and then Cody beats him when Roman beats Hogan's record. That's a way they could go down. Whether they will, we don't know. But it's all dependent on what the fuck is going to happen at Elimination Chamber with this tag team match. Because the worst thing that could happen, because there's still the out where Seth could turn on Cody.
On Cody, yeah.
And still make it Cody versus Seth at Mania, Roman Rock.
Yep. It's
going to be interesting.
Would it not make sense to have Solo beat Gunther for the belt and have the Usos get together for the tag titles?
Nah, because they want the Jimmy versus Jey.
They want the Jimmy versus.
They've said that themselves.
Is that
they've said that themselves?
Okay.
They said that they find that's the ideal way. They want to face each other at some point, and
yeah.
I mean, what that does, that frees up Gunther from the Intercontinental Championship. to go into like the sort of main event picture, and then they go from there. I mean, it doesn't even need to be a case of unification. Can you imagine The Rock versus Gunther? Rock putting over Gunther?
I would imagine. I mean, that would be amazing for a start.
I'd be there for that.
I'd be there for it. I would, not because I think like The Rock's a twat or anything, but I would love to see Gunther chop the fucking shit out of The Rock. I'd like to see Rock's face after he took the first one. I'd like to see what he did in like retaliation for it, and be like,
"You done fucked up.
Who the fuck is this? What the fuck is it?" Like, I can imagine him just putting a hold on him, just getting him in the head, just like, "What the fuck are you doing, brother? Like, what the
Slow down, kid."
Yes, yeah, exactly. Like, do I know you fucking trans or something? Like, what the fuck is going on? But it's good fun. For me, the only way that they can tick every box, maybe for me personally, just thinking about it sort of out loud or whatever, is that double main event, like the double night main event thing. I think that's the only way that they can do it and make a big of impact and sort of complement everything that they're doing. First night, because they were talking about combining the titles back, weren't they? There was discussion about that happening. So do we have, like I think I've said before, I can look back in my notes from previous episodes, I think I wrote it down. Do we have a Seth and a Cody? Seth wins the title, like, you mean, on night one, and then you have Roman and Rock on night one, and then you have Roman and Cody on night one to unify the titles, that sort of thing. Like, I don't know, that would be cool. I would like to see that. I think they're two really big matches, or three really big matches, or whatever it leaves. But I just think it would be good fun. It would be different, and it sort of not finishes people's stories or whatever, but it sort of like it puts a nail in that conversation. You know what I mean? WrestleMania for me should always be a culmination of a feud. Like, recently they've had like matches where they've had a match and they continue the feud on. And I know people say, well, obviously the good guy or the bad guy is going to win and all that. It's like, okay, but that's what it's all built up. It's the Super Bowl, isn't it, of wrestling? It's the final. It's the FA Cup final, the Champions League final, the World Cup final, whatever. It's that big event. I think to use
that's what they book towards, right? I mean, that's what they're booking towards.
They book Mania and they come backwards. Yeah. But I'm looking. I was having a discussion with some of the guys on Saturday. I travelled over with some of the guys with Showbiz and his valet, and just having a conversation about stuff. And I'm excited, man. It's so cool. Whichever way they're going to go, it's going to be really fun. I'm just looking forward to it. Like, I want it to come now. Like, I'm just like, like the suspense. If you're not like, oh my god, but it'll be cool. I'm really looking forward to it. Whichever way they go,
it's going to be a good one.
I don't think they can massively mess it up. I mean, they'll give it a good go, knowing the WWE, if they can have a chance doing it. But I don't think they'll massively fuck this one up because of the people that are involved. I don't think they'd let it happen. I really don't think they'd let it happen. So be cool. What say you? What do you reckon?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's amazing how that audible has been called, and it's got us all guessing again. Like I say, last week we were a bit flat, right? We were like, okay, what's going to happen? What's the point in the Rumble then if they do this? So the audible has worked. It's got us interested again. And we said it the last couple of weeks, it's the first time for a long time in wrestling we don't know what's going to happen. And so yeah, I'm really excited here. Like I say, I agree with you. It's like in true WWE fashion, they can only fuck it up themselves, right? It's I think it might be too on the nose for a Seth to screw over Cody, but you know, it's WWE, right? Well, we don't know what's going to happen. Anything can happen in the World Wrestling Federation. But yeah, I mean, there's loads of different ways we can like sort of fantasy book it, if we can call it that. Let us know what you guys think. Again, all the socials, just rewind it back. I can't be bothered going through them again. You'll hear them again later on, but you know, it is what it is. It's interesting. I'm really looking forward to it. There's loads of really cool conspiracies or just thoughts on Twitter. You know, that very sane place for you to go. And it's amazing how one injury completely changes everything, because I think it was a lock that CM Punk was going to go against Seth Rollins, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
and it's amazing how that injury.
It was a slam dunk.
I mean, it was funny. I was reading Twitter, and someone posted a video of another podcast, and they were talking about CM Punk's not actually injured. They're just trying to keep him strong, but without putting him from the title. Blah blah blah. And the responses were, the responses were, he had surgery today. You fucking idiot! It's like there's pictures of his surgery. You fucking moron.
It's a work. It's all a big conspiracy.
It's a total work.
Tony Khan paid for Drew McIntyre to injure him, because Drew McIntyre is going to sign with AEW when his contract runs out the day after Mania. He's going to be the first Dynamite, and he's going to win the title. Fucking idiots.
That's some Tony Khan booking right there. Speaking of Tony Khan, moving on to AEW, see what I did there. Yeah. Apparently, Hoxie, Tony Khan has got another new toy in his arsenal. According to the rumours online, Okada is a done deal and he's heading to AEW. Thoughts?
I'm so fucking annoyed. I did not want him to go there. I wanted him to go to WWE. We're just going to get everyone who has gone to AEW, who is like a big deal. Eventually, at some point, they have fumbled that opportunity and they fucked it up.
Yeah.
Like you'll make the argument against like Daniel Bryan, like he's the sort of the exception that proves the rule. But you look at what he's been doing recently, or there was periods of time where I know he was injured, but in between those injuries, there was periods of time where he just sort of fell into obscurity, just doing absolute shit, just doing stupid stuff. And they've had an edge, for fuck's sake. One of the biggest stars of the last 20, 30 years in wrestling, and they've dropped the ball with him. CM Punk, Adam Cole. It's going to happen with Okada. And I really don't want it to, because, as you know, anyone who's listened to this podcast, he's one of my favourite wrestlers of all time. He's one of my favourite wrestlers right now. I'm just really worried about what's going to happen. I really am. And
there's no consistency in the booking, though, right? I mean,
what booking?
Swerve Strickland is
what booking? There's no booking. That's the issue.
But you know, Swerve Strickland. We talked about it last week. You said he's a tippity top guy, and you know he is.
Yep.
He is like the perfect heel, right? He's got that swagger, but I don't know if you know about it, but they did a double turn, him and Hangman Adam Page. It's like it's to flip it round, and it's just a waste of an absolute talent there. And I do fear, like Okada he's different class, right? I mean, I'm not a huge Japan wrestler, but you know the stuff I've seen, the different feuds he's been in, he is just that sort of elite level, and I sort of worry for him a little bit. But to be fair to Tony Khan, right? He and you know we don't praise him enough, but he's opened the checkbook, right? You think about it. He's got Okada. He's potentially got Mercedes Moné, previously known as Sasha Banks. He's got oh my god, what's his name? Oh my god,
Will Ospreay.
Will Ospreay, thank you. Yep. It's like big, huge names, and that could be a difference maker. Like, I don't think AEW will ever overtake WWE, right? I think WWE is that level unto itself, but it could have certainly closed the gap. But I just don't have any faith in what they're doing. So yeah, Okada, fantastic signing, fantastic talent. He could be a needle mover, but the way AEW is booked, I just don't see it happening, which is a real crying shame.
It's depressing, basically. I'm happy that I'll be able to see him. It's easier to find Okada now because he's on AWTV, which is shown over in the UK, and pay-per-views are easy to get and all that sort of stuff. Some of the matches that he's going to have there will be really good. But I just think he'll be massively wasted. And the matches that he could have in the WWE, to me, are more exciting than the matches he can have in AEW, because he will just have matches in AEW. In the WWE, they will mean something more. I mean, he's still quite young. He's still like what, mid-30s. I think he's probably the same age as me. I think, which is annoying. But it's like there's still time. Maybe a couple of years in AEW, he can get picked up. You know what I mean? Prove his worth and go WWE and do a couple of years or whatever. He's still quite young, so there's always time. But the thing that I'm most annoyed about is the fact that we ain't going to find out who would win our bet. If he was going to be in NXT or main roster first. I'm absolutely fuming about that. But
I'm devastated for that. Yeah.
All joke. We should have put a clause in. We should have put a fucking AEW clause in. Then we could have both done something. But we're definitely.
But we fucking didn't. So get it around you.
Yeah, exactly.
Nope.
But nah, it's. I wanted to see him in the big leagues, and just to see what he could do, because I think he could sort of transcend. He could make that jump and be like Nakamura went there as a big deal and sort of done bits, but he never made it past that point, and it was probably a little bit to do with Vince because he is Japanese, like Oriental. But I think Okada could have gone there and just pulled the fucking trees up, just had barnstormer after barnstormer, and just made a star out of himself, even more than we know he is. So yeah, it's frustrating.
So I mean, if Okada's going to AEW, right? I think it's 99.9%.
Yeah.
Right? So we know he's a tippity top guy, like you said it yourself before. How do you book him coming in to AEW? Obviously, he's got to go for the big one, right? He has to, yeah. But obviously, they've brought back in the ranking system.
Yeah.
So, which is a fucking shit show anyway. They've shot themselves in the foot with that anyway.
Yeah.
So you've got the book. You're Tony Khan. How do you book Okada getting to the belt?
I have him come in and beat everybody clean in the middle. Basically, I know that sounds like a really silly thing to say, and it's like, well, of course, but that's how you make somebody. You bring someone in, because the 850,000 people who watch AEW, most of them, a good 600,000 of them, will know who Okada is. So they'll know he's a big deal. Yeah. They'll know he's a big deal. But you have him come in and beat everybody. You have him come in and you probably put him in with a feud against somebody like an established heel, not veteran heel. I don't want to use the word veteran heel, but an established heel or heel team or heel stable. So maybe somebody like a JAS, like a Jericho. You have him come in and you don't have him pick the fight with those guys, but you have those guys pick the fight with him, and he can beat him at a pay-per-view, so it puts him in that sort of top guy bracket. Then you have him work his way through somebody like a Moxley, and you have him work his way through someone like a Page. You have him get involved with like a semi-main event, somebody like a Darby Allin, like a face Darby Allin. You have that tag team sort of thing going on, or an Eddie Kingston. You bring him into that echelon with those kind of guys, and then you just have him on that beeline to the belt. Basically, it's not necessarily rocket science, like the ins and outs of making a star. You have him come in, you establish him as a main event talent by beating main event people, and you have him beat the lesser talent, the middle card to upper middle card talent, quick. You have 8-minute matches with those guys. You have your longer matches with the main event talent. You beat somebody established who's a heel to establish them as a face. You involve them in something going on where there's different elements. Like you look at like the way Seth is involved with like Cody and Reigns and that sort of stuff now. Like you have them in that mix doing that. And then when all said and done, after a couple of papers, the two main guys who want to go for the big belt, and you win, and you just you're off to the races. You establish it, you make it personal, you get people invested in it, and then you want Okada to win. That's what you do. You have a really strong heel champion who is a prick, who maybe gets one over him or one or two things over him, and then you have him beat him at a big event. It's not painted by numbers, but it's an established way of providing a solution to a feud. Basically,
Yeah.
you pick that big event and you have him go for gold, and you have a barnstormer of a match, ebbs and flows, big high spots, near falls, all the good shit, and then you have him basically against all odds. You get him the win. That's how you book a card.
There's 5 matches I really want to see. I want to
Yeah,
see Bryan Danielson, Okada.
number
I would
3.
love to see what MGF and I would love to see MGF and Okada. I would love to see what MGF does in terms of his mic work. I think it would be just hilarity.
Yes.
I would love to see Kenny Omega. The
Yep.
matches that he had with Okada were phenomenal. One of the best feuds in New Japan. I want to see. Oh my god, two names have literally just left my head. Swerve Strickland.
Yep.
I would love to see Swerve against him, and I would love to see Claudio Castagnoli, formerly known as Cesaro in WWE. I think that would be a cracker as well.
That's a great shout, Shields. That's a great shout. I forget he's there. You forget he's there, don't you?
It's like he's overshadowed by Moxley, which is an absolute fucking travesty. It's actually. I don't want to see Okada versus Moxley. I would love to see Claudio versus him. I think it would be fucking outrageous. Like, as good as Kenny Omega and Daniel Bryan and stuff, or Bryan Danielson, sorry, would be against Okada. We've seen it before. I think the Claudio Castagnoli versus Okada could be phenomenal.
I would like to see a Dax Harwood match against Okada. I think that old school feel, again, like that Gaijin sort of opponent for an Okada, they would throw about a bit. I think that would be really good fun. They would throw some fucking hands as well. That would be sick.
Hey, big bastard.
Yeah, big bastard. And I would love to see Eddie Kingston and Okada have a fucking barnstormer as well. I really would. We got Ospreay in there as well. But these are matches. This is like, these are going to be really good matches. You know what I mean? Like, it's not necessarily a feud, but it's Return of the Big Hand. Return of the Big Podcasting Hand. I think it would be. I'm going to put a nerve hold on to the fucking audience. The claw. But yeah, it's there's some great shit. There's some great shit to be had. I think. Like I said, it'll be good. It'll be good fun because it's Okada. He's one of the best ever. But I just think he would be. And eventually, when all those matches are done in 8 months' time or whatever, it'll be like, okay, what else are we going to do? Where's the new toy? Let's stick this one back in the box and I'll get the new toy. Yeah.
That's the thing. It's a case of Tony Khan is very good at matchmaking, just not good at booking. And this actually leads me on to another point that I heard.
Make me a match.
It's a point, again, I heard on Twitter, and it came from good old Eazy-E, Eric Bischoff. He raised a very interesting point that how would you feel about recently fired Scott D'Amore joining AEW and taking over the book from Tony Khan? Because he did great work with TNA.
It would be a phenomenal appointment. Bischoff, lately, I think he says a lot of stuff inflammatory to like get clicks and things like that. I think he's very good at that now. He's becoming like a Wish.com Cornette. Cornette knows what he's talking about though, and Bischoff maybe not so much. Anyway, I think that is a great shout. I think it's a phenomenal shout. We had a chat obviously about this last week about him getting fired, and we'll talk about it a little bit more soon as well. But they have majorly fucked up. The Anthem guys have dropped a big bollock getting rid of Scott D'Amore. And I think if somebody like a TNA was to come in and swoop in and get him, it would be amazing. It would be good for the talent because he knows what to do with talented people. But the issue we have, Tony will not be able to let it go. So I think somebody like a Scott D'Amore would get fucking really pissed off about it. But there is a little thing I think that Scott D'Amore would have over other people that would come in, thinking about sort of the connections and the friendships and things. Scott D'Amore and Don Callis go way back. Don Callis was involved in TNA for a while. Scott and Don are really close. And also Jericho. He's one of Jericho's like old school boys. So I think Don and Jericho could probably control Tony a little bit, because they already do now, I think. Like, look, from an outsider's perspective looking in, we hear stories about some of the stuff Jericho's done or whatever, and the way he's got Tony's ear. But I think Don and Jericho could control Tony to let Scott have a little bit more. So I think it'd be really interesting. If it happens, brilliant. I'll be all over that. Yeah. What say you?
Will be certainly.
What say you?
I think. Like you say, I don't often agree with good old Bischoff, but yeah, I think he'd be great. I mean, that's unfair. I think Bischoff, he almost put WWE out of business, according to him. That's back
83 weeks.
But
83 weeks.
Yeah, but like, he's not a stupid man, and I think it's a very good shout. D'Amore, he's worked with a lot of the talent that's there as well when they did the TNA or Impact at the time and AEW sort of crossover thing. There's those links there. So yeah, I think, let's be honest, Tony needs all the help he can get, right? Mm-hmm. If he's going to utilise this talent that he's signed, and I've already said it's a fantastic coup for him to do that, but he needs help. He needs someone that's got just a modicum of sense, and it's not just this fantasy booker of him in his bedroom, just fantasy matchmaking. And I think D'Amore could do that. I think that would be really good. And I think D'Amore, I think he would have a threat's the wrong word, but I think he would have respect of a lot of the talent, which could actually help in terms of like safety in ring, etc. Blah blah blah.
But even just getting people across as well, or getting people actually in. I'll tell you what I'm going to do now. I'm going to stick up for Tony a little bit, because it does feel like we sort of shit on this guy a lot, and for good reason a lot of the time. But he has done a good thing for wrestling. He might not necessarily have done it in the right way, or he's listened to the wrong people or whatever, but I'm going to say this really clearly now. Some of the matches and some of the experiences that we've had as wrestling fans that Tony has provided us have been special and have been really good. So we do shit on him because the thing is, those matches that he makes that we do want to see, they will only go so far. Like, once you've seen it once or twice or three times, you get the trilogy matches. Like, once you've seen those, you can't see them again, and they're done. Yeah. So, like, fair play to him for, like, he wants to see the matches that the fans want to see, that people like me and you and the guys listening here now.
Yeah, of course.
They want to see these matches, and it's amazing. But once they're done, they're done. And the issue that we have now with AEW is he's had all of the matches now, most of them. So you can't keep just doing it. And they're all for the same reasons. You look back at, like, the feuds over X amount of time, the last 3 years. I think they're on, like, the 200th episode of Dynamite the other day. Yeah. So it's been, like, 4 years or whatever. Like, you look at it and it's all like, oh, you used to be my friend and then you're not my friend anymore. Yeah, but you went off with this other friend and you were being a friend with them, and we used to be mates, but we're not mates. Like, it's just it's like the same stuff. Like,
it's high school booking.
It's
high school booking.
Tony got bullied a lot at school, clearly. I got bullied at school, guys, so I'm not shitting on Tony. I wouldn't wish that on anybody. It's not a nice thing at all. But it's like, that's all it is. It's like varsity fucking rules, man. Fuck you. You fucking stink. Ugh. Like, it's just, it's bullshit. Bullshit.
I think I want to raise a point as well. You're talking about we do shit on Tony a lot, and it's not down to pure hatred of AEW. It's not down to pure hatred of Tony. It's down to pure frustration because we want AEW to work, right? And, people will say, it is working. It's, they're a legitimate, like, they're getting legitimate views every week, etc. And that's absolutely cool, right? They are getting a set amount per, like, every week. Mm-hmm. But can you imagine if they had some, like, long-term booking? Can you imagine the level they could go? And with the roster they have, okay?
Yes. Yeah.
It could. It's insane.
Look at the stuff they did with Punk and MJF. And we always use that. That is literally the prime example, isn't it? Yeah, for AEW, it's the best feud they've ever done. It is not even close. They've had good feuds, but they haven't had a great feud. And that is a historic a historic great feud in the history of wrestling, modern day history, 100 million%. We'll be talking about this in 10, 15, 20, 30 years' time, guaranteed. When they've got people who know what they're doing, who understand what people want from it, they get reactions. They had pay-per-view buys were up. They had TV ratings were up. They had merchandise were up. All the metrics that we look at as wrestling fans, if you want to bring it down to the stats, because we all know Tony's a stat man, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
When people know what they're doing, I guarantee MJF and CM Punk were in charge of that. Tony would have just been like, oh yeah, well, just you've got your time. Like, you mean, do whatever you need to do. You've got half an hour. That's your time. Do it. They would have been booking it themselves. It wouldn't 100%. Have been Tony. And that's what can happen. And the difference with if you have a feud with a good feud in WWE, the metrics will change, but it's not a big difference. Like 10% on whatever, you know what I mean? You have 200,000 people watch a Raw, you go from a 2.6 to a 2.8. You have 200,000 people watching a fucking Dynamite, you go from a 0.85 to a fucking 1.05. Like, that's a big jump. It's a noticeable difference. And I think the more and more people get that into their head, the more and more of these like AW fucking sycophants who just think everything is amazing that they've ever done, they more and more the elite bumfucks, you know what I mean? Like, the more they get involved in this, and the more they understand the way this works, it'll be better for everybody. The best way to vote against AEW not working right now is to change the channel, is not to watch it.
Yeah.
Because if you don't watch it, it'll have to change.
And the thing is, right,
I'll take a breath now. Sorry, I fucking start out. I'm getting hot.
The thing is, right, we also like shit on the Bucks, rightly or wrongly, okay, and Kenny Omega and Adam Page. We've got our very strong opinions on them, right? But there is a place for them, right? They do bring in a lot of eyes, right, in terms of their core fan base, right? And I'm not saying that, you know, the Bucks should be at the bottom of the card, right? That's not their place, because in their own mind, in the AEW fan base, they are the stars, right? They're not my cup of tea. They're not your cup of tea. And I don't imagine they're the cup of tea of the majority of our listeners either, right? But it's like...
The thing is, they were the cup of tea, but they're not anymore. You can look at the metrics. When the Bucks come on television, people turn over. People change the channel. Their merch isn't as hot as it was. Like, at one point, they were a big thing. Like, they were making a big difference.
Yeah.
The AEW core audience like that stuff. They like the Kenny. They like the Elite. They like the Bucks, the Kenny, and all them lads. Like, I can understand it, right? But the issue is they'll never go past that. They'll never have that. And the only way it'll go, like, Hulkamania was running wild for a long time. You got to 1992, and it was going downwards. So there's still those core fans there, but people didn't want Hulkamania anymore. You know what I mean? It's hard to keep that level. And the Bucks, once you've seen a Bucks match, you've seen a Bucks match. Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. You know, I don't want to say it's just a standard indie show, because it's not. You know, it does have high production value, etc. But, you know, there are a lot of talent on there that are still living the indie life that probably need to sort of screw on their head. And this leads me on to my next point, Hoxie. It's
yes.
Again, you may have seen it. So we record this on every Thursday, essentially, for release on Sunday. So the one that's going about on social media just now is Jeff Hardy has been injured by Sammy Guevara after doing a shooting star press, and it went wrong. You know, and it's not the first time a shooting star press has went wrong. I mentioned it before. Who was it? Was it Billy Kidman onto Chavo,
yeah,
something like that? And, you know, serious concussion, and Jeff Hardy was legitimately knocked out. I think he's got a severe concussion. The question I've got to you are: now, we know anything can happen in wrestling, and, you know, you're taking your life and you're taking your opponent's life in your hands, etc. Are there stars, in inverted commas, that are just dangerous and just don't think about it, and it's just all about the spot? What's your opinion on, like, the Sammy Guevara incident?
So, as you were chatting there and doing that introduction, I've actually just watched the clip, because I kind of saw it in passing earlier on when I was putting the little man to bed. So I've just had a proper look at it. That is 100 million% on Sammy. Now, I know people say, oh, like high risk, and they call it high risk for a reason, right? You have to be 100% confident that A, you can do it. You have to be 100% confident that the person taking it obviously can take it or whatever. But when the person is lying on the mat and you're throwing your body through the air in a certain way, there isn't really much else that those guys can do. They can cover up and get themselves protected, but you're taught to protect your body and catch. You're almost in this position as you're lying down, your arms across your chest. So if someone's going to fucking go sideways and land on your head, there isn't really much that you can do. Sammy's done some mad shit. It's not the first Hardy Boy that he's tried to fucking kill. He fucking done some mad shit. That's probably a little, the mat one was probably a little bit on both of them and a little bit on the setup and all that sort of stuff. But there are people who are in the ring who are just like not innately fucking dangerous, but they have a little less regard for themselves and other people. I mean, fuck me, like New Jack and people like that. Like New Jack legit tried to fucking kill a motherfucker. So there is some bad stuff, and people sort of can sometimes outstretch their ability with how they want their matches to look or what things they want to do. I say to people all the time, like when I used to train people and like if I'm in the back with guys who may be a little bit greener or working with people who maybe might be a little bit more excitable or whatever, like if you're not comfortable, just say no. Even if you're in a match and like someone calls something, just fucking, you don't have to do it. You just hold on or like push somebody out of the way, or if things get really bad, you fucking stick one on their nose. You know what I mean? Like there's stuff to do to stop it, and it happens. Like you know what I mean? It happens. So I think just there are people who can be dangerous in the ring. Luckily, I'm thinking back through my life, my career. I haven't been in with anybody who's been like really bad. I've been in with people who were green and you pick up the odd injury and that sort of stuff, but I've never been in with anybody dangerous. But I've seen people. I've been on shows with people who are dangerous. There's a guy who used to train. He was the guy actually who originally broke my nose. That's why I've got a fucking beak like that. So he still is. He'd been training for a long time and he was still as bad as the first day he walked into wrestling. So there's people out there who are dog shit and dangerous, and people who just maybe take liberties. I mean, we look at some of the stuff the Steiners used to do, some of the stuff the LOD used to do back in the day with the job guys, like the enhancement guys, and everyone who like back in, oh, fucking hell, that was funny or whatever. Like they could have killed someone quite easily. Yeah. They could have killed somebody or paralyzed someone or brain injury or broken limbs and this, that, and the other. Yeah. People just do mad shit now. It comes back.
GR says it.
Yeah.
So no, I was going to sorry to interrupt you. Yeah, GR says it best, right? It ain't ballet, and I don't believe that people will go out and deliberately. I mean, there may be one or two assholes out there. There's assholes in every walk of life, right? Mm-hmm. But I don't believe they'll deliberately do it. And do you think it's more of a case of chasing the oohs and ahs as opposed to the boos and yeas? You know, the phrase we've used before.
Literally, that was going to be my next point. So I was going to say it comes down to this issue where we've almost done everything we can fucking do. So it's like everything needs to be bigger and better and mental. Like 30 years ago, a dropkick was a finish. 20 years ago, running power slam was a finish. 10 years ago, fucking whatever, the FU was a finish or whatever. Like now it's like, okay, a stunner, a fucking Canadian destroyer was a big finish 10 years ago. Now it's a fucking transition spot. So it's difficult now to... If we spent all of our time making things actually mean something, then they wouldn't have to do stupid shit like this. I've said this before, I'm all for a high spot. Everyone loves a little high spot every once in a while, and the trapeze is part of the circus. People want to see the fucking human cannonball and all that sort of stuff. But you don't want to see the human cannonball 10 times in a row. You know what I mean? You don't want to see the trapeze act 10 times in a row. Because especially you don't want to see it 10 times in a row every night for 5 years, because the trapeze isn't special. So the issue we have now is going forward, like, what do you do? And the only way you do it is by making it more dangerous. It's that simple. It's non-wrestling people or non-wrestlers, like, people will understand what I'm saying. You understand what I'm saying. There'll be fans who understand what I'm saying, but there'll be people who out there and listen and be like, no, I want to see exciting stuff. Like, you don't need to see somebody falling from 20 feet in the air for it to be exciting. You want to be able to feel something. And excitement is an emotion, but joy and anger and happiness and elation and fucking anguish, they're all better emotions than going, oh, because you'll forget about it next week. If you look back and you remember the time fucking, I don't know, oh my God, like, fuck me, whatever, fucking $1 million man kicked a ball out of a kid's hand for fucking $100 or whatever. Because I remember that. Because I remember watching it and I'm thinking, you motherfucking bastard, what a prick, I fucking hate you. Rather than seeing, I don't know, a fucking Vernon Schneider's triple Indy a couple of times a night. Doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean anything. We want to see
the bad guy
things.
Scott Hall. You know, what did he do in order to elicit a reaction? Throw a pick.
Throw a fucking toothpick at some motherfucker. Yeah.
No.
MJF comes out and just fucking stands there imagine. Sometimes. Like, yeah.
He wears a Burberry scarf. That's enough for anyone. Okay, final bit of the news or rumours or gossip or something, and we're going to go into TNA. We talked about Scott D'Amore a little bit earlier on, and you sent me something earlier on today, and I'll let you take the majority of this one. It's a letter to TNA management from, it looks like, the roster, the TNA family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Let me just
thoughts, Hoxie.
I'm just going to get it up on my mobile device. I think it's a really good thing. It's sort of not people power, but like talent power. I think because people think, obviously, with the history of wrestling, everyone's an independent trade, independent contractor, and your job is replaceable. You always feel as though you're hanging on the line and all this sort of stuff. I think for everybody to get together and sort of make a big noise about this is an amazing thing. I think it's a really, really good thing. Do you want me to read some of this out? Do you want me to read this out?
Yeah, go for
read it. So it's Lennon Scott. TNA Impact is not just our employer and the company for which we work. It is a family that each of us have grown to love and cherish and trust with our bodies and our careers. A family for which we feel deeply, and that desire above all else to protect. We are deeply saddened by the decision to remove Scott D'Amore from the TNA family. Scott is a brilliant wrestling mind that has guided this company and has positioned it to take the next step upward in our industry. Scott is also so much more than this. He is a trusted friend, confidant, teacher, advisor, brother, and mentor to so many within the TNA family. Scott has been the heart of TNA for over 2 decades. Lennon and Anthem have been instrumental in supporting and building this company back from the ground up. The contributions of Len and Anthem have never gone unnoticed to anyone in the company, and we want to make sure Len knows this. TNA, simply put, would not have survived without Len and Anthem. Not just financially, but with the undying faith in Scott and us to revive the company that was on the brink of death. Len and Anthem are the foundation of TNA. It's been a whole foundation that's been able to be built upon. We would not have made it back to this point without both of you. The fans know this, and the TNA family know this. We come to you to voice our concern for TNA, our family, and its future and direction. We, like you, wish to safeguard what we've all worked and sweat and bled for to build. We want TNA Impact to grow and to continue to be an inviolable place for all professional wrestlers to work. It goes on and goes on and goes on. So you kind of get the gist. You get the fucking tone of the letter, basically. There's a big line which is underlined in the back end of the letter. It says, it is in our opinion that the best possible person for that role is, and will be Scott. So this is an interesting thing to do. I don't think you would maybe see this happen in WWE or potentially in AEW, but I think this just shows how. I think this shows not the lack of anything, but the the importance that the talent have to play and what actually TNA is doing and what it's done. There's probably been a lot of faith put into a lot of those guys who have been in TNA for a long time and tried to steer it back on. And I think it's a good thing that they feel as though they can do that. And I think they feel like the weight and the sort of the importance is on them to make this happen. There's not many workplaces that, even in life, that would have that sort of like attitude towards stuff. So I think that's really impressive. Fair play to them, mate, because it's a bold move. Because fucking Anthem could turn around and say, "Well, fuck you later," and just, you know what I mean, and just go and sign a load of indie guys up or whatever on like $50 a night, fucking guarantees or something. But it's amazing. I would, if I was Scott, I'd be really proud of them for a start. And I'd be really, really proud of myself for having that sort of support and backing. In wrestling, you don't get
testament It's testament how much of a positive impact, excuse the pun, he made on TNA, right? I mean, it's, I think he's definitely an asset for a wrestling company. I think to bring back a company that was, as it said in the letter, on the brink of extinction. You know, it was almost done, and you know, he sort of steadied the ship, he directed the ship, and you know, I mean, it's not a case of the talent they've got there, and they do have talent, right? But it's also the people they've had wrestle on TNA as well under his tutelage, which is, you know, fingers crossed that they maybe reverse the decision, they bring him back.
Could you go back? Could you go back there? I know stranger things have happened, but
could you make it into an angle? I don't know. I mean, you don't know. It would be really interesting. They could make it, you know, Scott D'Amore could come in and create a feud with TNA management. Who knows, Hoxie?
The D'Amore
we will see what happens.
People against whoever or whatever. Yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. That is the end of the news. And speaking of feuds, Hoxie, we're moving on to our list, okay? Our top 10 wrestling feuds. My fucking segues are getting better. I'm really impressed with myself there. But no, in all seriousness, hopefully Scott does get back into wrestling. AEW would be a perfect shout for him. That's just by the by. But yes, we're going on to our top 10 list now, everybody that's listening and watching, as the case may be. Top 10 wrestling feuds. It could be, you know, a series of matches. It could be anything, okay? As long as you can justify it. Because as we all know in Market of 10, justification is everything. I do have a wide variety here. So some modern day classics, some old school, maybe some that are maybe a little bit left field, maybe stuff that you've never thought of. Who knows? We will wait and see.
Who knows?
Don't know who's first. Me or Lee? I don't know.
I think it's you this time. I think I went first last time, so you can go, mate.
Okay. Okay, so my number 10 then for feuds. This is a series of matches that I'm going to include as a feud that you actually introduced me to, and it's a couple of names that we've already mentioned this evening already, and it is the Kenny Omega and Okada feud in Japan. The reason it's so low on my list is, as I've said, I'm not a huge Okada Omega like buff. You introduced me to the matches, you know, and I just feel that after I watched them that one time, I've watched them several times since, and they are just different gravy. So, you know, what was it? The first one was Wrestle Kingdom 11. It was like 46 minutes of just fucking insanity. Yeah, it was Okada. Okada eventually won the first one, didn't he? He was hitting numerous rainmakers, loads of false finishes. Kenny couldn't hit his one-winged angel. It was just like a perfect match. It was just insane, and you know, this was the match that for me, I understood the hype about Kenny Omega. Now there'll be arguments in terms of Okada carried him through the match, etc. I mean, you've said that in the past yourself. You know, Kenny Omega was so great because Okada is so much greater. But you know, you've got to give props to Kenny Omega for his part in that match as well. And then obviously the second match, 2017 Dominion 2017, it was like a 60-minute draw. It was just fucking just absolute insanity. And then obviously the third match in 2018, I think that was close to 50 minutes as well. So they've been actual epic matches themselves. In that particular one, what was it? It was 13, 14 V-triggers from Kenny Omega and then a one-winged angel to eventually pin him. And I think it was the first, it might be the only 7-star Dave Meltzer match. And,
Yeah, I'm sure
again, we shit in Dave a lot, but it was a legitimate match
it's a good reference
deserves
point,
it.
isn't it? Yeah.
It's incredible. And I think if you talk about feuds, this is a match that, it built to it as well, so I'm talking about the first one. It built and built and built, and Kenny was the first non-Japanese to win G1 to go up against Okada, and it built to that stage, and the match itself was brilliant, got its 6 stars, and then it just the feud just kept on rolling and rolling and rolling. And I think if you're going to watch a series of matches and the feud that it goes on and on, Omega and Okada is probably a prime example of a modern day feud that just works, and you've got to. And if you haven't seen it, go and watch it, because it's just fucking phenomenal. And I think that's something, if we ever do proper watch alongs, like on a Patreon or on a stream or something, that's a series of matches we're definitely going to talk through together. I think it just epitomizes everything that a good modern day wrestling should be, and we talk about false finishes and where you place them, and 14 V triggers, people are thinking, holy shit, that's just, it weakens the move, but it didn't, because of the sort of personalities that both Omega and Okada are. It was just incredible, and I'm not a huge Omega fan, but I understand why he got the hype that he did. So yeah, for me, it had to be on the list because it is a modern day sort of classic feud in a way.
Yeah, cool. We'll probably talk about that quite soon.
I gathered, yeah. Okay, Hoxie, so my number 10, Omega and Okada as a standard feud. Over to yourself.
So my number 10, I had to get this on the list. Okay, it was. I didn't take anything massive away from the list to get this on or anything like that, but I had to get this on the list. The more and more I worked through this, the more and more I thought, I need to. And it's the rivalry between Mitsuharu Misawa and Kenta Kobashi. Basically, it sort of went through lots and lots of time, but it also transcended over companies. So from All Japan to New Japan, etc., etc. They had, I think at the time, I think they wrestled each other. They wrestled each other about 8 times, and I think 3 of the matches got 5 stars. I know we fuck Dave Meltzer, but it's the only way. You know what I mean? It's the Weasel Dooley fucking the star system. So we'll call it the Dooley stars rather than the Meltzer stars. But 3 of the matches got 5 stars. 3 of them got 4 3/4 stars, and 3 matches won the match of the year in the Observer, 1998, 1999, and 2003. When you go on, so you can actually we can statify this if we want to on Cage Match, the wrestling website, which I'm actually on, which is quite cool. On Cage Match, in the best rivalries category, it is ranked the best rivalry in wrestling history. Out of 10, it's got a 9.91 rating out of 10, which is absolutely fucking mind-boggling. When there was lots of obviously All Japan, New Japan of 80s, with Tiger Mask, and obviously you had Jumbo Tsuruta and Kawada and all these guys, the 4 pillars would come through, and they had all these amazing matches. When you look at 2 of the greatest ever, the 2 names that will pop up in wrestling history are Misawa and Kobashi all of the time, and they done shit which basically set the fucking tone for the next 25 years. So all the stuff we talk about now, we talk about Kenny and Okada, we talk about guys like Kevin Steen, fucking Generico with fucking, what's his name? WWE. Jesus Christ.
Sami
Zayn. Daniel Bryan of this world. The Samoa Joes of this world. All of these quote unquote indie darlings or whatever, but these guys who turned into the best wrestlers in the world, this is what they watched. This is what they started on. And I've seen some of these matches, and I've seen some of these clips, and I've watched some of this stuff back. I've sent stuff to you, like I sent stuff to some of the guys who I wrestle with, and some of the stuff that I use on shows, like a lot of the chops and things I get from Kenta Kobashi, like a lot of those sort of spots, if that makes sense. I think the Japanese strong style, that term strong style, comes from these guys just dropping each other on their head and slapping fuck out of each other for 45 minutes. I mean, it didn't do Masara any good, but yeah, I mean, it's just yeah, amazing. I had to get it on. The last match in 2023, which 2003, sorry, which got the match of the year, is fucking monumental. Yeah, how those guys could walk after the end of the matches was just insane. So I had to get it on there. Just if you're not like aware of it or you don't know, just go and Google a couple, like, or YouTube some matches or whatever, just Masara versus Kobashi. There'll be stuff out there. Just go and watch it. You'll fucking love it. If you like wrestling and if you like big meaty men chopping fuck out of each other, then you'll enjoy it. But they did tell a story, and they done lots of callbacks, and they used lots of psychology in their matches. And yeah, it was some good shit. Mitsuharu Masara against Kenta Kobashi, one of the greatest feuds of all time, and statistically the best. My number 10.
Oh, there you go.
Yep.
So, solid start from Hoxie there. On to number 9.
My number 9 is Kenny Omega and Kazuchika Okada. I can't add anything to what you said, apart from just the way it made me feel. This is what sent me on I think we've spoke about this before when I've spoke about Okada. This that Wrestle Kingdom sort of journey, and this trio of matches sent my wrestling career on a very, very different sort of path and a very different mindset. It means the world to me. Sitting with like my mates watching these matches is just, yeah, one of the best trilogies in wrestling history. It has to be. We'll speak about some other stuff in a bit, but this has got to be one of the greatest wrestling trilogies of matches in history.
Yeah.
Kenny Omega and Okada. Can't add much more to what you said apart from that, mate. Yeah, love it.
Fair dues.
Great shit.
Yeah, good shit. And like I say, it came from a place where, you know, I wasn't a huge Japan fan. You can call it that. Fan's probably the wrong word, but you know what I mean? It just wasn't something that I focused on. And then we watched it as a watch along, watching all 3 of those matches, and it was like sort of jaw dropping, right? It's just so good. And as I said in my section, we do shit on Kenny a little bit, and but you know, for
when
all
he gets
Okada's
out of his
great,
own way, he's phenomenal.
You
He
get
just
it,
gets
right?
in his own-
You
he
get
gets
it
in his own way. Yeah, he gets in his
100%.
own way sometimes. The way they
Okie
build,
dokie.
the way Okada builds a finish. I've said this before. Sorry, just smashed the fuck out of the mic. I've said this before. The way Okada builds to his finishes in a match, there's, in my opinion, there is nobody in wrestling that I can think of who has done that better. Maybe Shawn Michaels, but when he's in there with somebody else, when he's in there with maybe like a Taker, but not everybody. When Okada has meaningful matches, big time matches, the way he builds that last act of his matches, there's nobody better, no one better. Oh, phenomenal. Sorry, go on, carry on. We'll crack on.
No, you're absolutely no, you're
Because I'll start
absolutely
talking
fine.
about
That's
him
what it's
all night.
about, mate.
We're only like an hour in, so I'm just weird. Yeah,
That's crazy. Okay. My number 9 is, we're going old school, and it's something that we have talked about before in I think the first season of Mark Out of 10, and it is potentially the best tag team feud ever, and it's Midnight Express versus Rock and Roll Express. Now, obviously, we were born in the 80s, but we didn't get to be part of it. Okay, we enjoy wrestling. We know a lot about wrestling. I like to think I know a lot about wrestling. And you know, when you look through the annals of time in terms of professional wrestling, those 2 tag teams were the peak in the 80s. They were the ones that sort of carried wrestling. You know, it all stemmed from Jim Cornette. He threw a celebration party when the Midnight won. I think it was in Mid-South. You know, that's how it happened. He had a celebration because they'd won the Mid-South Tag Champs, and then the Rock and Roll came down and basically shoved Cornette's face into the cake.
The cake, yep.
And the feud was born.
And that was it. Off to the races. It
transcended over and over, year after year, territory to territory. And, you know, we had 4 of potentially some of the greatest workers ever to lace up a pair of boots. And then you had the likes of Jim Cornette adding on to that. And, you know, when you think of the tag teams that were around in those days, you know, you've got the Freebirds, you've got the Road Warriors. Those 2 were superstars. They were so over. They were so hated, you know, depending on what side of the fence you were on. It just has to be. They set the standard for any tag team feud. In fact, any feud in wrestling, and the longevity of it. It had to be on a list of some of the greatest feuds in wrestling. It just had to be, even though we weren't there to witness it firsthand. It just had to be.
Well, there's a lot of stuff like with history. History is there to be fucking studied, isn't it? Like we're not alive all of the time for everything, so let's get involved. And yeah, can't disagree, mate. Can't disagree.
Cool. Well, we'll just try and keep rocking through them until we have a conversation point. Now, what I did find is in my list, and I was really surprised about this, there's a lot of tag team feuds that I've got in here.
I can definitely guess another one that's going to be on here at least, but I'm trying to think about others, but I can definitely guess another one.
So this one is probably, I would say, more of a modern, and we're talking about a series of matches, so I'm classifying that as a feud as well, and it's FTR versus American Alpha. That NXT feud, those series of matches they had ending in the 2 out of 3 falls, is some of the best tag team wrestling I have ever watched in my years. FTR, they look like the grizzly old vets, right? They look big bastards, hard hitting stuff that we've talked about before. You know, I enjoy the hard hitting sort of nature of it. And then you've got American Alpha, Chad Gable and Jason Jordan, who were just fucking athletes, man. And they got it. And it was such a shame Jason Jordan got injured, because I reckon they could have been the next tier of tag team, like just dominant. They could have. You think about Kurt Angle, he could have, instead of being Jason Jordan's dad, he could have been like their manager in terms of like the world's greatest tag team, Shelton Benjamin and oh my God, what was his name? Shelton Benjamin and Charlie Haas. You know, that could have been the next American Alpha. It's just, again, if you haven't seen those series of matches, it is just near as perfection as you can get in modern day tag team wrestling. Just fucking phenomenal as a spectacle, and the fact it was on NXT, I think made it even better. That was something that built NXT even further, the brand up, and it's just a shame. I think if they had went to the main roster together, they would have absolutely stolen every single pay-per-view show going. And, you know, FTR say it as well. It's like, it's one of the best feuds they've participated in, because they're just so athletic, and we know we love FTR, right? We love the Revival.
Yeah.
Because they just get it, right? So yeah, for me, had to be on there because it's a favourite of mine. It's the series of matches are just so good. I would go back and watch them any day of the week. So yeah, FTR, the Revival at that stage versus American Alpha.
I'm not going to fall out with you. Like, I'm not going to argue against this, because obviously it's you like it for the way that it makes you feel, which is fine.
Yes,
but you're telling me that out of all of the rivalries and all of the feuds in the history of wrestling, you think of some of the greatest wrestlers that have ever graced this planet, you're putting American Alpha and FTR in the top 10.
I think FTR are one of the best tag teams ever to lace a pair of boots, Hoxie. Absolutely.
Okay. I don't want to... I'm just going to ask you a question and just go silent if you want.
Okay.
Please tell me that if they're on this list, then the FTR and the Briscoes feud are on this list higher up.
Maybe.
Okay. We'll follow this up later. Fuck me. That's blindsided me. It's
Really?
fun. Yeah, it's fun. Like, I know you like those matches, and I like those matches. They have some really good matches, and you know I love FTR. The guys listening to this, if they listened before, they know how much I love FTR. Yep. I'm sort of, I'm not going to shit on it. I think it's an interesting choice. Put it that way. Interesting choice. But cool. That's fine.
But it's my choice.
Exactly. And opinions mean everything and nothing at the same time.
Indeed. Okay, Hoxie. So you're number 8.
I feel as though I'm repeating myself a little bit from my number 10 from last week. Okay. And it's pretty much the whole reason we're here still. It's Hogan and Andre.
Okay.
If you think about wrestling, the importance of wrestling history. So this is not necessarily how much it means to me, because I am a Hogan fan. Like, I was a Hulkamaniac when I was a little kid. Everybody was. And I wasn't alive when it was all going on. I was, but I couldn't remember it or anything. I was a little bambino. But when you look back, we talk about the history of wrestling, you look back about important stuff. You can't have a top 10 feuds rivalries list without this on there. That WrestleMania 3 storyline of the Bobby Heenan, was it the Heenan family?
Yep.
His thing. So the passing of the torch of Andre, literally giving the boss ball, excuse me, to Hogan to let him run on with Hulkamania at that time, one of the biggest wrestling events in history, and the culmination of that feud, because it was all about story. They didn't fuck all. Obviously, there weren't weekly shows and monthly pay-per-views back then, so it was a lot easier to sort of build to that. But just amazing storytelling, and for Hogan just to build. Obviously, we spoke about it last week, but just for Hogan to build to that finish and the body slam heard around the world, and it was a great feud. And I can't remember the exact thing. I think I might have spoke about this before, but Heenan said that he got a one night check for WrestleMania for doing all of this, and I think the one night check was the same amount of money that he'd earned for the rest of the year. I think it was like $250,000 or something for one night for like the Mania check. Like, that shows how much of a big deal, because I dread to think how much Andre got, because Vince and Andre were like brothers, when he would have looked after Andre anyway, and Hogan would have got all of the money. But for Heenan to make that amount, it just shows how much of a big deal it was, sort of business wise. But you can't have a top 10 feud rivalries list without Hogan and Andre on there. The reason they're not my number 10 or number 9 is just because it's a big thing, and we are here probably now, WWE are probably here now, as big as they are, because of that moment, because of the slam and the leg drop. So yeah, Hogan Andre, number 8.
We'll talk about that later.
Yep, cool. I thought we might. Wicked, awesome. Redeem yourself from the FTR. American.
Fuck you. Okay, you're number 7 now, Hoxie.
Whoa! It is Flair and Steamboat.
Yeah.
They're 3 matches. I'm going to have to just have a quick Google, because I know them, but I don't know them off the top of my head. Ric Flair and Steamboat, that 89 feud was one of the greatest feuds ever. We talk about trilogies of matches and the amazing matches that they had. Chi-Town Rumble, which was like the first one. So they were feuding over the big gold belt, weren't they? They had the 2 out of 3 falls match, which was at the Clash of the Champions as well. And then they had the last one, which was it fucking Wrestle War or whatever? I can't remember. I think it might have been Wrestle War. I'm trying to find it. Just incredible matches. If you've never seen them, if you're maybe a younger fan, or you're because we have lots of WWE fans listen to this that I know. If you've never watched these matches, get yourself on the WWE Network, set yourself down with a nice drink of like a nice cold beverage or a beer and a couple of snacks, and have an hour and a half rather than watching a film on Netflix or whatever. Have an hour and a half to sit away and just watch these three matches in order, back to back, and you will not be disappointed at all. If you are, you don't know shit. You don't know good wrestling. We've done a watch along of these matches on stream as well during COVID. I think we've done it. That's why we've done the Kenny and the Okada ones, and we do like a comparison. We done one night. We done the three.
We did 1 week. Yeah, that's right.
And then one night we done the other ones, right? So, and they're just beautiful. They're beautiful matches. They talk. Flair and Steamboat have spoken about this, like in interviews and stuff later. Like they were on a level. Their chemistry was unmatched. Like Steamboat said, he's never had chemistry like that with anybody else in the ring in his career. Like he would be looking at Ric Flair and he would like do that, like with his eyes, and Flair would know exactly what he was doing, and vice versa. They didn't have to speak. It was like telekinetic almost.
Yeah,
like
it was crazy.
They called these three matches. They called everything in the ring, which is just obviously they know each other's spots or whatever. Maybe not so much for Steamboat, but with Flair. But they called it all out there in the ring. They didn't sit for an hour or 2 hours before or write it all on a piece of paper and give it to each other and say, "Oh, this is what we're going to do tonight." They went out there with a finish and said, "Right, let's go," and they done it, and it is amazing. They made that 1989. They made that title. They carried WCW or Jim Crockett or whatever on their back for that year for 89. And the best thing happened at the end of it was the setup for Terry Funk and Flair as well. So Flair won. Sorry, spoilers, guys, but fuck you. Flair won the last one. Had an interview with Terry Funk. Terry Funk was doing commentary on the match on the pay-per-view, and he fucking turned on him at the end and put him through a table. It's one of the first times we've ever seen anybody get put through a table on television in history, and he fucking put him through a table, and they had a cracking feud from then on. But yeah, Flair and Steamboat, some of the greatest matches you'll ever see, one of the best feuds in history, and probably the best trilogy of matches in wrestling history as well. Flair and Steamboat.
Probably agree with that, yeah. Flair and Steamboat's not on my list. It was on my wider list, but there's so many feuds, right, that you have to find reasons not to put them on, right? And, I mean, going back to my American Alpha FTR thing, fucker, it's about... it rekindled my sort of love for tag team wrestling. Just that's the first real time I've legitimately watched FTR or the revival at that time. And, you know, as I've said in many, many different podcasts, you know, tag team wrestling for a long while was shat upon, you know, and, you know, it was just that particular series of matches. But yeah, I get it. Flair Steamboat was on till very, very late on in my list. My wider list was full of so many good things. Fair play, Hoxie, fair play. Number 7, Flair and Steamboat. I agree. Probably the best trilogy of matches ever.
Special.
Okay, my number 7, it's one... Yeah, my number 7 is one you've talked about, Hogan and Andre. You know, we talked about it, about the pop, and I can't really add on much to what you said. It basically just caused wrestling to go, right? I mean, the build up to WrestleMania 3, the slam heard around the world, but, you know, it was the build up to that, and, you know, it made all the money, like you said, and yeah, it was the passing of the torch from probably the greatest attraction in wrestling in terms of Andre the Giant at that point, to one of the most over and charismatic superstars that we've ever seen in Hulk Hogan. And yeah, the business they did was great, and it took the business from this level to that level, and it never really stopped from there. You know, it went from Hogan to like a Stone Cold type thing, and yeah, it was crazy. It just fucking kept on going, man. So Hogan and Andre, like you say, it had to be on a list. The reason it's not higher on my list is because there are other matches or other series of matches, other feuds that sort of meant a bit more to me and caused me to feel other things. So yeah, my number 7 is Hogan and Andre.
Cool.
Okie dokie. My number 6, for me, 2 of the greatest characters ever in wrestling. It's got some of the most memorable moments in wrestling for me, and it's Undertaker versus Mankind. Okay, so everybody knows when you think of Undertaker versus Mankind, the first thing you think about is Hell in a Cell, right? But the sort of years before then, in terms of Mankind, was the first one that you could really see psychologically getting under Undertaker's skin a little bit, like the boiler room brawls and stuff like that. And I think it's testament to how fucking good Mick Foley is. You know, his psychology is just second to none. He gets it, and those two together, the sort of dark characters, just work so well, and they kicked the shit out of each other. You know, it's like it was just phenomenal, and you know they're both stars in their own right, but they took each other to like a fucking another level, and it was just hard hitting. And you know the chef's kiss moment is the Hell in the Cell. You know, Undertaker just fucking yeeting him off the side of the cell, thinking he fucking. You know, and then that's not the only bit. Then Foley comes back, you know, the tooth through his fucking, like, his cheek and getting chokeslammed through the cell cage. And, you know, it's all about moments and it's all about how it makes you feel. And there were stages where, when they're doing the boiler room brawl, for example, the years before, you worried for the Undertaker because, you know, Mankind was just a dirty fucker, and he was wailing on the Undertaker, and, you know, he couldn't put Mankind down. And yeah, it was two of the greatest probably gimmicks, two of the greatest characters, two of the greatest to ever do it. And I think Undertaker had a lot of great feuds. This is one of 2 on my list from the Undertaker. I think we all know where I'm going to go later on down the line, but yeah, for me it had to be on the list of one of the greatest feuds, just for the sheer fact that when I was a child it scared the shit out of me, and you know, that's a legitimate feeling. It makes you feel something.
I can't add much more to that, mate. I think Taker needed a credible foil.
Yep.
And Mick Foley was a big lad. We underestimate how big of a guy Mick Foley was in terms of height. He's a good 6'4", 6'5". He's a big tall guy.
Yep.
320 pounds, whatever. To have him come in and be a credible like threat to an Undertaker at the time was a big deal. And yeah, that psychological aspect, his promos and all that sort of stuff. Mankind is one of the most I've spoken about Mankind before. He's probably one of the most underrated people in wrestling. He has to be in the conversation for one of the greatest of all time. And I think he gets overlooked a lot of the time. But yeah, some of the stuff they did was fucking nuts. And that Hell in the Cell, Jesus Christ, what a fucking match. We talk about matches that you would show a non-wrestling fan.
It's got to be up there
to be like, what the fuck's going on? That's got to be on the card, isn't it? Right? You're picking 6 matches or whatever. Like, that's going to be one of those ones on the card. You think, fuck. The fuck's he just done? He's killed him. My God,
he's killed him.
He's killed him.
That's it.
Yeah, class.
It was like the perfect storm, right? It's just that match. It reduced Mick Foley's career. You know, it did. It took years off his career. Like he said it himself, it's just, yeah, fucking so good. And like you say, he was the perfect foil for Undertaker. He was a legitimate threat. You just didn't think he was going to go down, and that's testament to Mick Foley's fucking pain threshold, really, right? It's like you just don't imagine him getting taken out. And yeah, 2 of the greatest ever. Fucking brilliant. Love it.
Good shit. Yep.
Okay. Over to you for your number 6.
My number 6 is the New World Order, the NWO, and Sting. So when you think about long-term storytelling, when you think about big feuds in wrestling history, not necessarily WWE, important stuff that happened in different companies. We spoke earlier on about Bischoff was beating WWE at one point. It was then, like 96 into 97 or whatever, that was like that important part. 12 months this Sting didn't wrestle for. He was up in the rafters and doing mad shit for 12 months. I don't think that's ever happened before. And I'm 99.9% sure that hasn't happened since. Obviously, you know what I mean? You wouldn't. You got that Sting character who's up in the fucking rafters every night looking down on what's going on, because Sting was WCW was Sting's company, wasn't it? He was their he was their guy, like he was their top guy. And I think when you have that moment when you've built that up for so long, and you like I said for 12 months, you build it up and build it. WCW with the whole NWO going on, you knew Sting was WCW guy. You know the NWO were like obviously running wild and running roughshod with everywhere, and just to have that perfect symbol of hope. And I think the word is juxtaposition. Like there's this dark, moody, scary looking motherfucker who's like sitting in the rafters. He's the guy who everybody wants to help. We need him. We need this guy up there to come and make a difference. And him coming down and with a baseball bat and throwing the baseball bat away and having that fucking fist fight and coming down from the rafters on the rope and all that sort of stuff. Like, and obviously feeding into the really shit Starrcade 97 pay-per-view payoff. It's the only thing, but it's a long-term storyline. 12 months of just like, what's he going to do? Who's he going to side with? He's wearing like white and black, blah, 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 whatever. It's one of the coolest things ever. For like 12 months, long-term storyline, and two of the biggest stars, like one of the biggest factions in history with one of the biggest stars in history. It's got to be on this list for me. Fucking brilliant. Some of my earliest memories of WCW was all this going on, and the Crow Sting and all that, and all the stuff that I watched from back then. And 1997 is my favorite year in wrestling, so it had to get on there. You're gonna poo-poo it. I know exactly what you're gonna say. But fuck you, FTR.
No, I mean, I get it in a sense. I do. I get it, but it's just, you know, I get the whole long-term storytelling. It's like, I think the Starrcade 97, a great feud should always culminate in something. And I just think
the damp squib of the pay-per-view.
Just, you know, and then if you then go into it, it's a case of, Sting didn't wrestle for like a year, 12 months. It's like, well, all right. Now I get the psychology side of it. I get all that, but nah, for me, it was never on my list. Never on even a wider list. It wasn't. For me, I get it, but at the same time, it's just not for me. I don't know. I mean, don't know what makes it worse. it's the fact it's actually quite high. It's like number 6. I don't know.
For me, mate, I don't know. It's you've got Hulk Hogan and you've got Sting involved, and in their biggest period of time, it's their biggest feud, 100 million%. Mate, he fucking, like, I know we had like Stone Cold.
Didn't go anywhere.
We had Stone Cold dropping the fucking stunner on Vince. We had him doing the Scorpion Death Drop on like Bischoff and stuff, and sending him like a fucking fake head and all that sort of mad shit. It's like the thing with, you look at poignant moments, like one of the biggest wrestling moments in WCW was him saving DDP, Sting coming down from the rafters on that rope and saving DDP. Like that's one of the biggest moments. That was all part of that feud. And him coming out at, I can't remember the fucking pay-per-view. Oh, Jesus Christ. Name me some fucking WCW pay-per-views, mate. Oh, I can fucking remember it. It might be, it's not fucking Halloween Havoc. It's not Full Brawl. It's not Hog Wild. It might have been uncensored. I know Rodman was there. It might have been uncensored, but him basically coming out and just because everyone was thinking like, oh, whose side is he on? Is he going to be not like the Hogan whose side is he on, but is he going to there for WCW? Is he going to be there part of the NWO or whatever? And him coming down with a bat and just fucking pointing at Hogan was fucking cool shit. There was some really, really, really good storytelling going on with all this sort of stuff. And it did culminate to something. It was Sting's fault, really, but it was, I think it's an amazing feud. So good. The storytelling was amazing.
So do you think that's the best feud in WCW then?
It was one of the best. One of the best.
I mean, I would definitely put it would be in the top 10 list of WCW feuds, I suppose, but I don't know, mate.
Like I said, 1997 was my favourite year in wrestling, and this was all going on. Yeah. It was all going on the other channel, basically. There was some amazing shit going on in WWE. We spoke about it with Canadian Stampede and all. I mean, the Bret and Stone Cold and all that sort of stuff. But on the other channel, all this shit was going on, and it was fucking sick. Maybe, I don't know, maybe you might need to give it another chance, or maybe another shot, or just go and have a little bit of a look at some clips and some bits and bobs. It was a big deal. It was a big deal for me. It was. I love this shit. I loved it. I really did.
Oh, I can't wait to watch 52 weeks of Sting looking sullen on the rafters. Can't fucking wait. Jesus. And then eventually go.
I'd rather watch that than fucking AEW in a minute. Jesus Christ.
Well, that's true. Oh. Fucking hell. Fair play. I mean, it's your choice, and justification is everything. You haven't justified it to me, so get it round you, but it's fine. It's I reckon out of all the lists of that you've done, that's probably the first one that I've had a strong feeling against.
It's a hard no. It's a hard no from Shields.
Yeah,
it's a hard no.
Hard no from me. I mean, great. So this has got to number 6 for each of us. You know, do you agree with our list so far? Let us know at wrestlemark10@gmail.com. Mark_out of 10.
I can't believe it. There's some great storytelling in this feud. It's brilliant. Big rivalry. For WCW, it was their biggest rivalry ever. Flair and Hogan was like, everyone wanted to see it. But like, excuse me, in terms of like rivalry, that was the biggest thing they did. 100%.
Maybe their biggest, but was it their best?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I disagree. I think there's... I don't know. Okay, well, we'll move on, Hawks. We'll move on swiftly. We're not going to argue over shit like this. That's fine. I mean, you're fucking wrong, but that's by the by. Okay. So we are down to number 6. Now, usually we take a break in between the lists and we have some sort of segment in the middle here, whether it's news, whether it's Royal Rumble. But there's a poignant moment happened today as we're recording Thursday. Hawksy, do you want to explain it?
So it's a big anniversary. So this is 20 years since Eddie Guerrero today. So as we're recording today, it's 20 years since Eddie Guerrero won his first WWE title against Brock Lesnar. So what we thought we would do is just to sort of commemorate the occasion and to sort of celebrate Eddie Guerrero winning his first title, which was massively deserved at the time. We're going to do a watch along of the match. I'm really excited for this. This is like a bit of an audible today, wasn't it? Really, I sort of realised I was having a little mooch about, and I realised today, and I just think it would be nice. We're going to talk about stuff as we go along, and obviously we'll talk about things in the match, and we'll sort of keep you guys as entertained as possible. But we can't show it on here. So you won't be able to watch on here. So if you do want to watch along, just go to the WWE Network and find it, which is something that I did not do myself earlier on when we were talking about it, because I'm an absolute fucking moron. So give me a second. Hold on, shit. I am.
But yeah, so we'll talk through it. Like we'll have a conversation. Yeah. We'll give you an idea of what's happening, etc. And there's obviously things that sort of precede it. We'll talk about as well. So let's go here. What the fuck? What was it again, Hogsy?
It was. It's obviously 2004. It was No Mercy.
Yeah.
No Mercy.
No Mercy.
No Way Out. No Mercy. No Way Out.
No Way Out.
We're so unprepared.
Fuck you know.
We'll cut this out.
Sorry, I'll edit this out. It'll be fine. No Way Out.
No Way Out 2004, right?
4, yeah. And what we'll do is we'll start from 1 hour 49 minutes and 8 seconds. That's where we'll start it from. We're going to play it from 1 hour 49 and 08. So if you want to do it, you can watch along. Unfortunately, we won't be able to play it on YouTube. I might try and get it in for on Spotify, etc. We'll wait and see what happens. But Hawks, are you ready?
I'm absolutely buzzing my tits off of this, mate. I'm ready to go. Tail of the tape time.
Okay, so 1 hour 49:08. Or we'll do it on count of three. 1, 2, 3, go.
So they've got the tail of the tape up on right now. So Lesnar and Eddie Guerrero compared Oh, it's gone. There we go. 3 weeks ago. SmackDown. I love that SmackDown entrance, mate.
SmackDown, yeah, so good. Eddie was so good, man. So good.
Rikishi, look at that ass. Damn.
Some fucking stars, though, right?
You look back at the fucking... like Angle and Guerrero, where they had some barnstormers as well. Their match at WrestleMania 21 or whatever it was, 22 or whatever. Like, just,
yep,
so good. There are some strength there.
So bringing Kurt Angle over the top rope from a suplex and then dropping him over the top. So it was a top rope over the top rope elimination match to get to the number one
Battle
contender.
Royale for the number one contender.
Eddie Shimmy.
Eddie's... There isn't much space left underneath that skin before it starts ripping, right?
Yeah.
Fucking Lesnar, man.
So good.
Some backing off the roids.
Mm-hmm.
You're not fighting the odds, Eddie. You're fighting me. What a great line.
Addicted to losing. One of the greatest promos ever. The addiction one.
Yep. It's truth. Everyone knew, didn't they? Like, well, you make real life, real personal issues draw money. It was on the fucking wall behind Jerry Jarrett's desk for fucking forever.
Orale.
Hey, poto.
Can you imagine him being in the ring just now? Like, stuff that he could have done, man.
I would have loved to have seen him have a match with like a Daniel Bryan or something, like Eddie Guerrero versus Bryan, like both of them in like their prime would have just been really special. That belt, that WWE belt, gets a lot of shit. I think it's really nice.
I like it, yeah. Really like it.
Orale. Big boy Brock. How old would you been here? Like 23 or something? 23, 24?
Look at the fucking traps on him, man.
He's ginormous.
Ridiculous, right?
He's ginormous.
His traps are bigger than my fucking quads. It's ridiculous.
It's a joke. Like, all you can see, like,
animal,
they're
man.
practically like, they're like halfway up his neck. They're nearly touching his fucking earlobes when you look at him fucking front on. I used to love that, the entrance. He used to jump athlete up on the apron and the fireworks would go off. It's so cool. He hasn't got... The cool thing about this is a lot of guys, when they're dropping the title, they have boo boo job face. They call it's called boo boo job face. So like they know they're losing, so they just do the fucking. They don't come out. They're in a mood and all this sort of stuff. He's coming out, giving it the big deal. Like he's making people think it's cool. I wonder if he'd shot at anyone's head up until this time, allegedly.
Viva la raza.
What does he do?
He just
mate?
watched videos of it.
What does Eddie do? He lies and he cheats and he steals. The lowrider stuff is so fucking cool. I used to love these entrances. He's coming in with his lowrider, like so sick, bouncing up and down. What an idea that is! Like, I would love to know who came up with that. Whether it was him or whether it was like someone like Bruce Pritchard or someone. You mean like where did that? Eddie, I've got an idea. And then he'd be like, fucking yeah. Like, you know, well, every time we go to...
It's living to the stereotype, though, right?
It is, but it's like, it fucking fits, though, doesn't it? It's not like fuck me, it's not one of them. You know what I mean? It's not one of these, like, really on the nose, like, fucking... We talk about, like, all the Oriental guys having to spit fucking mist and stuff. Like, it's not kooky or anything. For him... it matches. It's so cool.
Yeah.
Talking of being jacked, there
Fucking
isn't much
big
left
boy,
on him,
right?
mate. Look at him. He probably rattles when he takes a bump, but fucking fair play to him.
I mean, you can see the yeah, it's like the steroid rash on his back.
Back knee, that's what it's called. Back knee.
Mm-hmm.
Oh dear.
He was so good.
He had it, didn't he? He had all of it.
I mean, his feud with Rey Mysterio in WCW, fucking.
Oh yeah, I think they just had a lifelong thing, didn't they? They were tied together. I love his boots as well. I used to love them gold boots.
Orale. We talk about over, right?
Yeah.
Over as shit.
They were ready for it, right?
Yeah.
Just going back to that, going back to the addicted promo, like, I know people were behind him, okay, with this. Obviously, he was big time over. Like, he was big time over. Do you think that addicted promo sort of like took it to the next level? I think do you think if they didn't have that promo, it would have meant something, but do you think it would have meant like everything? If you know what I mean? Because I think you go from the line, cheat, and steal guy to the real. It's Eddie Guerrero, like he's a real person. You know what I mean?
He connect. Yeah, it made him connect. So obviously everybody loved him. The live cheat steal gimmick was the thing that got him over, but that made him human, if that makes sense. And I think when he's going up against like a superhuman like Brock Lesnar, I think that it gave it that extra impetus. You know, it's like he's the underdog, right? He's the underdog against Brock. He's the underdog in life because of the addiction thing. So it just worked.
Sorry, I will go back to that in a minute, but like Guerrero's like genuinely running at Brock, like he's like proper trying to run and tackle him, and Brock's just like it just fucks him up. It's like he can't move him. It's amazing. But yeah, I agree. Like it made it invested people like emotionally into it rather than being like, oh, we really like Eddie Guerrero. It was like we love it. I love a back body drop. I always try and get a back body drop in some of my matches. I always try and hit some motherfuckers with that. I love it. It's great.
That's not a suplex. That's just a fucking throw.
Yes,
he just fucking yeeted him over his head.
There is no suplex there. Look at the difference in. Like if I met Eddie Guerrero, like I know obviously he's not tall, but I would look at Eddie and think, "Fuck me, he's a big boy." He looks small in there, doesn't he? To Brock. Like, he really does look small. It's fucking nuts.
Brock is the alpha male of the planet. He is the...
Yeah.
I've said it before. If aliens came down and said, take me to your leader, you take them to Brock Lesnar. It's like...
He's a big lad. Like, even now, though, like, when he...
Do you know something, right? We all know he's strong and we know he's vicious, but he's so quick.
Quicker than a hiccup,
so fast.
I would say he's... Whoa. You know, we talk about people like not being safe or whatever. Like, Lesnar will get you out of all of the trouble. Like, he half had him then, and he still managed to keep hold of him. Like, he had hold of his knees, and that was it.
Pure strength.
Yeah. See you later. Just belly to bellied him. It's literally like me throwing a bag of sugar back in the fucking cupboard or something. Like, it's just... Oh, my God. It's ridiculous. Usually you've got to take like a bit of a flip bump. Like you have to give yourself, like you've got to tuck the head and give yourself a bit of a flip bump with a belly to belly, like overhead. Like Lesnar's just, Guerrero's just like, yeah, I'm going. There's all he needs to do is just office him. It's ridiculous. He's just gone. So I love about like, you look at like when Angle used to throw like these proper wrestlers. You know, these wrestlers know how to throw somebody, like to get underneath them, like get underneath the hips and stuff. He could have jumped on the top rope then. You could have jumped himself up on the top rope.
Fucking good, decapitated Eddie Guerrero. Fucking.
We're going back to like Lesnar, like being quick. Man. Like he's sudden, isn't he? He's not just quick. Like, to take a fucking line from JR, like, he's not quick, he's sudden. Like, it's a joke.
Yeah.
They done a was it when Lesnar and Lesnar and Rock had their match, and they done like the training montages, and you saw them like it was like the Rocky 4 thing, wasn't it? Like, you could see them training, and he was like doing all the lifts and doing all of his training and montage, like running up and down the steps and stuff. Like, he's a big guy to be doing matches.
Everyone loves a montage.
Again, see you later.
Eddie's fucked. I'm going down to the floor.
It would be impossible to sandbag Brock Lesnar. There's not many people in this world that if Lesnar wouldn't be able to pick up or throw. His voice does definitely.
I know.
It's
lifting.
so weird.
No, 100%.
Come on, Eddie Guerrero.
Come on, Eddie.
Oh dear, so funny.
Viva la raza.
Brock should have went and got him then. And he's trying to do this count thing, but he's like saying, "Come on, come on," and he's like, "Wait." Like, if you're going to tell someone to come on, like, if you're going to be going over strong, you should have went and got him. It's probably what Eddie was waiting for.
Why did the count restart there? Because Eddie didn't get into the ring.
It's on the apron. He's like attempting to get in, if you know what I mean.
Is it from the apron and not under the... Right, okay. Well, there you go. You learn something new every day.
He would have got a little bit of his body in the ropes, basically. Like, it was his hand, or his foot, or his nipple. A little bit would have got in between the ropes. I
think that's great. It's trying to showcase the strength of Lesnar, the fact that he wasn't getting dragged to the ring post easily.
Yeah.
Shit like that's so cool. So good. So good.
It's class in it. So Eddie went for a third like wrap around the ring post of Brock's leg. And Brock basically pulled Eddie into the ring post. So he took like a chest to the ring post.
So the general rule is the heel calls the match, right? That's generally the rule, yeah? There's no way that Eddie...
Usually the heel would call it unless you're like a veteran. So Eddie will be calling this. Yeah, right, Eddie will be calling this because like Brock will be doing bits and bobs. Like, he'll probably tell Eddie to go, or like, this is going to happen or whatever. Like, you know what I mean?
I want my spot in here.
Yeah, the main sort of the guiding of the match of like, okay, like, are we ready to go yet for like a comeback or something? It's like, you know what I mean? Like, so Eddie would have told him to get on me here. So they'll build. I haven't watched this match in a long time, so I don't know what's going to happen. But I would imagine we're going to wait for the crowd to come. So Eddie will be telling him, just wait, let them come, and he'll build and build and build to a comeback or fighting from underneath. Basically, that's what would happen now. And Eddie will be calling this. He'll be saying like, "Oh, just wait, wait. They'll come, which they will. You just got to let them come, basically."
Is it going to be like the raising of the hand? Referee's going to check them?
If they want to go old school, potentially, but it'll be more waiting for the crowd to come with them. If they don't, they'll probably do that.
I love the old school shit. I think that's cool.
Yeah, so no one does it anymore. And it's fun. There we go. It's a little bit of a comeback, fighting from underneath. The smaller guy and the big guy. Jesus Christ. There we go. So all that. Oh, sit down. There we go. So that's what we talk about. It's like a bit of a hope. So it's like, oh, we're fighting up, bang. Oh, the crowd are like, yeah, then and then splat. So you're giving that hope to the crowd. You're trying to build them back up onto you. This is a clothesline as well. Fucking hell. Anguish. That was horrible.
I felt that. Oh.
So Lesnar just went for a German.
Like the harshest.
He kind of lost him a bit then, didn't he? Lost him a little bit.
It's like he fucking slapped him on the ground.
It was a flubump, not a bump. It was a flubump. If there's two noises, it means something hurts afterwards, basically. That's the simplest way for non-wrestling people to understand. If there's one big noise, it's kind of okay, unless obviously you get dropped straight on your neck or whatever. But if there's a flubump, something's hurt.
But again, it's so good. It's like they're aiming for the back and the top of the spine, and it's just isolating that bit from the rough German suplex. I really like shit like that. It's so good.
The thing with Brock, right? Like, even if he was trying to sort of like make it a work, he's just that big and strong and muscly. Like, so what would feel normal to him, for somebody that isn't him, it would just be brutal, wouldn't it? Like, it would fucking hurt a lot. I love that. So they called back. So that's what he tried to do / did earlier on in the match. And like Eddie just like flopping out of the way and Lesnar getting his comeuppance with it. I love that. It's great. And there's the Jeopardy, right? He's hurt his knee.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. House show dive. Brilliant.
But again, right, it's like he did a top road like plancher, which it was a thing of beauty. But it's the first one we've seen in the match, and we probably won't see another one again. You know what I mean? It's like it's what we were talking about beforehand. The high spots are great because they're actual high spots and not just a spot in the match. That's the difference.
Taz is underrated on commentary. Big time.
I would absolutely agree. It's a shame he's sort of underrated in everything he's done in the wrestling business. You know what I mean? It's like in the ring, fucking great.
I loved Eddie Guerrero's backdrop suplex. This was just beautiful. What a lot of people used to do is they would like fall like a tree with a backdrop. Eddie would go up and straight down, which is the way it should be. And I love a backdrop suplex like that. If anybody hits me with a backdrop suplex and they don't do it like the Guerrero, the proper way, I get annoyed. Because I expect to be dropped, not falling back. So it's bullshit. I used to shout at everybody when they used to do it wrong when I was training them. Be like, stop. Do it like this. And I would literally show them a video of Eddie. So this is the way you do it. And also the way Eddie... So this is for any aspiring young wrestlers out there who might be listening to the podcast. When you are learning to run the ropes or what we call sleep leap drills, so you're sleeping, Eddie Guerrero, rather than just rolling onto the belly, Eddie Guerrero would try and catch the person's feet. We all know, we've seen people, you take a tackle and you flatten the back, someone runs the ropes and you do that thing where you like jump onto your front and they jump over you. Guerrero used to try and catch their feet. So that was it is a work. You're not just rolling over on your belly. It's an offensive move. You're trying to grab that person's foot or ankle or leg or whatever. So Guerrero used to do it amazing. He used to try and catch people on the way over. It's brilliant. He never would, but he'd make it look like he was trying to. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
Lesnar's knee is getting bent up like a motherfucker there. So good. Fuck off. Just pushes him out of the way. Go away. I'm just swatting a fucking toddler out. Get out of the way. Busy. Figure four. He's got the foot the wrong way around. He needs to go over the top of the knee. He's got it the wrong way around. Unless he wants to do an Indian deathlock. He's trying to get Lesnar to do it, and Lesnar keeps fucking about. The bent leg needs to go over the top of the straight leg on a figure four. Usually, you take a back bump from that. Like, when someone pushes you away, you sort of, like, go with it. Like, he was literally just kicking him off him. Just get the fuck off. It's so good.
Get the fuck away from me.
It's brilliant.
So good. So
this is No Way Out pay-per-view from 2004. Eddie Guerrero, Brock Lesnar. Oh, there we go. See you later. Thanks for coming.
The reason
Did he do that on one leg?
The 20th anniversary.
The 20th anniversary of Eddie Guerrero's first WWE title win. So we know the finish, but it's just really nice to watch this back and get involved. And it's a big moment in history. And we both love Eddie Guerrero. We're both Eddie Guerrero marks. And I think it would be cool to watch it today. So we called an audible earlier on, and here we are. I'm going to enjoy it with my Mawam pinballs. So,
if you're watching this on YouTube, we can't show the match. Hashtag not sponsored. But yeah, if you won't be able to see this on YouTube, I'll see if I can get the audio over it, but I definitely can't show the video, which is unfortunate. But
if not, unlucky.
Unlucky.
There you go.
There we go. So how much?
But if he rolls over on his front, he changes the way the pressure works. Oh my god, is he going to? No. Figure four sucks dick, by the way. Don't know if I said this before. I don't know if you watched anything before with the figure four on. You could legit, if you really wanted to, you could legit snap someone's leg with a figure four.
Okay, no.
It's hyperextension. And look where his left ankle is over the top of his right knee. If you push your body upwards and you push your leg down, that's going one way, and it's not the way it's meant to bend. It sucks. All holds come from shoot moves. All of them. This could fuck someone's day up. I love the way they got Lesnar over. Obviously, they just squashing Eddie, and then he's had that little tiny thing that's opened the door for Eddie to just focus on that leg and to bring him down, chop him down to size. Love it. It's professional wrestling storytelling. I love the way the ring sounded in the Ruthless Aggression era as well.
Mm-hmm.
Modified version of a sharpshooter look. This is just another figure 4 lock on his leg. It looks like it's like a sharpshooter without the on the STF. That's like a figure 4 STF. Has he got his leg out? Sorry, I'm just calling moves now. I'm really intrigued. It's like this. I love this shit. It's so good. So he's got an STF on. Lesnar's neck's that thick, he can't even bring his fucking head back. Look, he's just powered out of it.
No.
Yeah. So rather than like him saying like, "Oh, get yourself to the ropes" or whatever, like it makes sense for a Lesnar to just fuck Guerrero off. I think that's really good. Fuck you, though. See you later. What, dude? It's Baby Hebner.
Mm-hmm.
With his fucking
beatbox.
With his Air Maxes on. Oh,
fucking hurt.
A spine on the pine. It was a great spine buster. I do like a spine buster with a twist, though. I do like the old, like the double A one with like the turn. Do like a big spine buster with a turn.
I like Triple H's spine buster. Don't know why. But Arn puts so much fucking torque onto it, right? One of the best Arn Anderson spine busters I ever saw was WrestleMania. Hulk,
yes.
Ric Flair versus Undertaker.
Yes.
So fucking good. So good.
What a match, by the way.
Great match.
Some good shit.
Good shit.
Good shit.
I still think what we should do one time, and again, you guys listening and watching, you can determine whether you want to see this or not, is we should get a match and we should commentate over it just for shits and giggles. Like, I know you say it's difficult, but we could...
Have you ever tried to do commentary or not?
Never tried it.
It's so hard.
No, I never tried it.
It'll be fun. It'll be good fun to give it a go, but it's so difficult. It's so difficult. And I always end up watching it as like, I end up watching the match. If you know what I mean, I'm just like,
just be quiet.
Yeah. It's fun.
Eddie Guerrero to his knees. Challenger's getting up on his feet. Got to be better than Michael Cole, surely. Fucking hell.
Vintage Lesnar. So good.
I could just put loads of Scottish mannerisms like, what a ball bag.
Yeah, you'd have no idea. Yeah. Be like an ICW show, just like, get to fuck, man. That's fucking brilliant. Oh, so good.
Wow. That accent was phenomenal.
Oh, dear.
Tonight's match is sponsored by Iron Brew.
Please sponsor us, Iron Brew. It'd be the fucking best thing ever. It'd be so good.
Curly Whirly would be great.
Amazing.
A Curly Whirly sponsor, Hoxie, would be great.
Dude, he just suplexed him with one leg. Did you see that? He literally fucked him off on one leg. That's so good. Oh!
Just die.
Curly Whirly and Iron Brew sponsor. Yes, please. He's just got like a fucking hold on him, look. It's like a bear hug. Like a gut wrench bear hug. It's fucking brilliant.
Go on, Eddie.
Go on, Eddie. Eddie.
Crowd, man.
Do you think it's a bit brutal how Benoit got it at Mania and Eddie didn't? Do you think that's a bit fucking brutal? I know they wouldn't have done it on the same night. You know what I mean? Like, whatever, but...
Yeah.
Benoit beat Triple H and Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania. And obviously Eddie beat Brock, but this would have been huge if it happened at a Mania, wouldn't it? It would have been fucking so good.
I suppose the benefit of hindsight, right? I mean,
Hindsight's 2020.
I've said it before. Benoit is one of my favourites in the ring. Just everything he did, it was fucking phenomenal. And then just shows you, just fucking hell.
He nearly came out of that gut wrench as well, and you just fucking held him in it and fucked him off. For those guys who are not watching the podcast and they're listening, I've got a lovely pack of Mawam pinballs next to me, and they're keeping me lovely and moist.
Hydrated. Sure about the
Look at that, he's just ragging him around, like literally just riding him, just ragging him around like he's not even there. The University of Minnesota, one of the best high school wrestlers in the history of America, and one of the best NCAA champions in history as well.
Yep.
Everything Lesnar's done, like physically, he's like excelled at, hasn't he? Like high school wrestling, NCAA. Like I guarantee, if he went to the Olympics, he probably would have won a gold medal. He went to WWE. He was the top guy. He went to UFC. He was a champion. He barely missed out for the Minnesota Vikings, having never played American football before, which is fucking insane. He's the blue chipper, right? It's a shame he's a sexual deviant, allegedly.
Well, I don't think he actually did anything. I think he just watched. He's a fucking voyeur. That head scissors, man, so good.
It's brilliant.
Quicker than a hiccup.
Brock is in trouble. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think if Brock was like ever like in this much trouble in any of his matches he had before. Here we go. Oh no!
The three amigos.
Dos.
Go on, Eddie.
Go on, buddy. And Tres.
Orale.
I do prefer Eddie without a mullet. I'm not a massive mullet guy anyway, but I think he just looks better without a mullet. Up top, and he's missed it. Lesnar moves.
Beautiful frog splash, though.
Aye.
So good.
The crowd was so ready for that, weren't they? Up, and splat. Literally a splat.
Referee got knocked down from the F5.
Ref bump. Can't beat it. My God, he killed him. It's automatically everybody looking to the stage, looking for a run in or whatever.
One of the best referee run-ins though is the Charles Robinson at the fucking wall.
I watched. I think someone done like an edit of it, and it was or like a GIF or something. And it's just him running forever. Like it's just like, and like it cuts back, and he's just literally constant, just running and running and running and running. It's so good. He's Benjamin Button as well, Charles Robinson. He doesn't age the day.
Yeah,
he's literally getting younger. It's crazy.
Great referee.
Oh, brilliant referee. Mini Nate, right? He is a great referee. There's been some really good referees in history, hasn't there? Like you look through the years, you got Earl Hebner and you got like Tommy Young from like back in the Crockett days in WCW. Tommy Young, back in Mike Chioda, great ref. Even Baby Hebner was great. Hey up,
he was jacked as well, right?
Yeah, another big old boy.
Hell.
And he was big in a different way.
Goldberg
Lesnar's just like fucking corn fed, wasn't he? Like he was just a big old country boy. Like Goldberg was fucking jacked and ripped, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I think Lesnar turned around too soon. They could have had like a really big moment there with like Goldberg just sat in the corner a little bit longer, like in that 3-point stance, just ready to fucking go. It just shows a bit of grit on both of their parts, really. The pair of them were green as fuck, weren't they? To be fair. So, what do you think about the involvement of a Goldberg?
What in this match?
Yeah. Do you think it takes away?
No, I don't know. It's about like where it leads next, right? I mean, 1, 2. Oh my God, he kicked out 2 2/3.
Crowd just going absolute. They were so ready for it there, ready to go.
The thing is, though, right? The Goldberg run-in the crowd were there for it as well. The pop that he got,
Yeah.
it's like you can tell when people are pissed off. Like, for example, the Solo Sikoa thing, it's like we talked about it, the Rumble.
It's like,
He didn't need to happen. The crowd were just fucking not for it.
Yeah.
But they are. I mean, interference has its place, right? I mean, always does. It's how you utilize it.
Yeah. This ain't right. This is not right.
Brock's selling like a champ.
Yeah. When he wants to and he's involved in that, he gives you everything you need, right?
Yep.
DDT on the belt.
So good.
Missed it by a little bit, but it don't matter. It don't matter.
Nope.
He cheated. Eddie Guerrero cheated. Look at the crowd. They're all on their feet. Oh.
Referees turn around. Come on.
Quick.
1, 2. And there's the pop.
There is nobody in that crowd or who would have been watching at home who would not have been jumping around like right now. Straight into the crowd with his peeps. So good.
It's a moment, right?
Yes, big moment. Someone in their crowd giving them the belt look, like one of their own like mark belts. He's like, "Come here, Eddie! Like, fucking take this." Cole's doing well here to sell this. Give Cole some shit. Like Cole's all over this.
Yeah.
Wow. Imagine what the Spanish announcers would have sounded like selling this as well. Like Hugo Savinovich and Carlos Cabrera would have just like only the dogs would have been able to hear him. I think just like it would just been fucking mint. Oh, there's Mama. So good.
So good. It's all about the moment, right? All about the moment, Hoxie.
It's brilliant. Ah, Mama
one
Guerrero
of the best.
Crying, look. So
one
good.
One of the best ever do it.
Yeah.
Eddie Guerrero, one of the best ever. 20th anniversary.
First ever WWE title. Really good match as well. Really good match. Lesnar doing the job. Goldberg getting involved for the WrestleMania match, and off to the races. Love it.
Feuds. Hoxie's just done his number 6, the NWO versus Sting. Not for me, but over to you, Hoxie, for your number 5.
You spoke about this earlier on. It's the Undertaker and Mankind.
Nice.
I can't. It's going to be a quick one. I can't really add much more to what you were saying. I sort of gave my little bits when you were talking about it, like throwing a little bits and bobs in. That my sort of fandom when I started watching wrestling or whatever, like really getting into it and stuff, like that was all going on, and it was just amazing. And if you look back at wrestling history and you look at some mad stuff and some really good feuds, it's going to be there. It's up towards the top of my list. I'm not giving anything away further down the line. It was between Undertaker and Mankind in this number 5 spot, or there was 3. It's really bad. Undertaker, Mankind, Undertaker and Kane, and Undertaker and Shawn Michaels. And it was very, 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 very nearly Undertaker and Shawn Michaels because of their WrestleMania matches. But I think from like when I started watching wrestling and what it means to me, and like looking back on stuff, and that King of the Ring, that Hell in a Cell match, it had to be Taker and Mankind. So yeah, number 5. Cool.
Fair enough.
I can't add much more really to what you said earlier on, mate. Just so good.
We've been so close together with that. So good. Yeah, I think it was the psychology. It's not the matches itself, it's the psychology and, again, moments, right? That's what it comes down to. Okay. Moving over to me then. My number 5. It's one that you actually called out, and it's the FTR versus Briscoes. Again, it's a sort of modern day classic. Essentially, think about it as like a year-long feud. It's probably longer than that, but and realistically, it was 3 matches. I think that's all that it officially was.
And they were all on fucking Ring of Honor shows, which hardly anybody saw as well, which is crazy. Fucking hell. Yeah.
It's down to pure hard hitting, just big bastards. It's just beautiful tag team wrestling as it should be. It was the parts of the feud were bloody. It was just, but there was a respect there because they just are tag team wrestling, and it's such a travesty that we're not going to see any more matches between FTR and the Briscoes, because obviously what happened to one half of the Briscoes obviously dying in a car accident, which was tragic. But just again, you put me onto that. It wasn't matches that I watched, but again, it's once you watch them and you can rewatch them and rewatch them, it was just about finding out who is the best tag team in wrestling at that point. That's what it came down to. That's what it was all about. It was just, they both say that they're the best, and legitimate shouts to say they are the best in the business. And those matches were just an absolute thing of beauty. And as I said, there's more tag team wrestling matches than I thought there ever would be in this, or feuds, sorry, on this list than I ever thought there would be. But yeah, this had to go on. It just, for the short amount of time that they feuded for, 12 months, 3 matches, but it still has to go down there as one of the best tag team feuds, probably of all time. And as I say, it's just very, very sad that we're not going to see much more. But we're not going to see it again. It's a shame.
That dog collar match, like the chain match or dog collar, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Just if I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm not speaking for you, but you may agree with me. I think if any of the stuff that we've talked about tonight, or we're going to speak about tonight, if anyone wants to go away and just watch one 20-minute thing from everything we've spoke about tonight, try and find that chain match, FTR against the Briscoes, that last match that they had. I'm fucking really getting emotional just thinking about it. It was really special and really good. And I think as far as a gimmick match goes, it's probably one of the best gimmick matches I've ever seen. It has to be up there for me. If we ever do a gimmick match list, I'm probably giving away something, but it's one of the best gimmick matches, and it's probably one of the best matches of the last few years, and nobody speaks about it because no one saw it. It was on a Ring of Honor pay-per-view, which probably had 25, 30,000 pay-per-view buys, and probably another 15, 20,000 people watched it on the internet. It's sad that wasn't on an AEW pay-per-view. That should have been on a Revolution or an All-In pay-per-view. That could have had 15, 20,000 people screaming behind it. It would have painted a very different picture. Not to say that the picture it painted was bad. It just would have been spoke about in very, very different terms, I think, if it was on a bigger event.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sad. Really sad. But go out of your way and watch that tonight. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, FTR versus Briscoes.
They haven't made it on my list, but I'm really fucking annoyed that I haven't put them on my list.
I'm really surprised they didn't go on your list. Really, really surprised. I thought it would have been a shoo-in.
I think
just for the dog collar match.
Yeah, I'm annoyed with myself. I've put myself in a bad mood. That's it. Stop the podcast. Finished it. I quit.
It's over. It's over. There ain't no quitting. Mark out at 10. Okay. Moving swiftly on then, Hoxie. We've talked about it. Now, you said something interesting there, FTR versus Briscoes, in terms of one of the best gimmick matches of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I would agree with you. Mm-hmm. But I can think of one tag team gimmick match that is the pinnacle. And it is the feud between the Dudley Boys, Edge and Christian, and the Hardys.
Yeah.
The feud that reinvented, and it was a reinvention of tag team wrestling and what tag team wrestling could do for wrestling.
Yeah.
We've talked about the match. We've talked about the matches that these guys had. And, everybody's talking about, it's the big gimmick match, those three versus each other. And it was. But the feud between those three was something very special. It's, we talk about, we've talked about Flair and Steamboat, we've talked about Hogan and Andre, Undertaker and Mankind, and there's chemistry there. How often do you get 6 individuals that have the chemistry that they had over a sustained period of time, and every single one of the teams were over as fuck? It doesn't happen, I don't think we'll see the likes of it again. It's like,
on that big of a scale, it'd be difficult.
On that big of a scale, it'll be often imitated, never replicated. It's one of those things. It is just, if you're talking about gimmick matches, that's got to be up there. But just the sort of psychology they had, you could put individually, Bubba Ray versus Edge, or a Matt Hardy versus Christian, and it would have just clicked. It would have been fine because that was the chemistry they had. But when those 6 men got together and did any form of tag team stuff between them, I can't even think how many tag team championships they had between all 3 of those teams. It's ridiculous, right?
Yeah,
and that in itself, when you think about feuds, and like I say, this for me is the tag team feud. For me, it has to be, in terms of money drawn from the gimmick matches, and again, memorable moments.
The business,
Jeff Hardy getting speared by Edge, the way it changed the business, 100%. And so for me, number 4. We've talked about that particular match and those series of matches a lot in previous podcasts, so I'm not going to go a lot into it. If you haven't heard it, go back and listen to the back catalogue. But for me, number 4, the way it made me feel, the way it changed the business, Dudley's versus Edge and Christian versus Hardy's, had to be up there.
We watched we done a WrestleMania watch along, which is in the back catalogue. Go and check it out. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to your shit, YouTube, whatever. We done a watch along, and I think we both rated it the highest match on the card, and that was the match with Stone Cold and The Rock, the WrestleMania 17 match, and I think we both rated it higher at a 10.
Yep.
Like a half a point or whatever than the main event.
It's magic.
It's special. Really special. Capturing lightning in a bottle is what they say, and they definitely did it there. Yeah, I can't
not
disagree,
once, but
mate.
twice.
Yeah. Second one was better than the first one, definitely, but
100%.
It was still pretty fucking spectacular, right?
It's a bar that's been set that I don't think will ever be surpassed.
Nah, no. The people try. Was it often imitated, never replicated? Is that right? That's the right term?
Yeah,
100%. Yeah. That's why all these motherfuckers are killing themselves and breaking their legs and fucking.
Well, I said that in the podcast. I said that, right? It's a case of they're the reason, they're the benchmark as to why there's so much fuckery going on in the business.
God damn it, motherfuckers! God.
But 2 tag team matches in a row from me. Over to you, Hoxie. You're number 4.
My number 4 is it's for personal reasons, business reasons, and 2 of the biggest stars. And you're going to laugh at this. And I'm not going to be hypocritical here at all. And if you call me a hypocrite, fuck you. I don't care. But it's John Cena and Randy Orton. So if you look at Cena was the biggest name in wrestling. He was the generation's big guy. He was the guy for that generation. He still is. Fuck me. Whenever he comes back, he makes all the difference. He's a fucking star. Like, you know what I mean? He's the Rock Mark II, whatever you want to have a look at it. But when I started watching wrestling again, so I've said before on the podcast, I had like a little bit of a hiatus. Not through necessarily because I didn't fell out of love with it or anything. I just didn't have the opportunity to watch it as easy. So I just didn't watch it. But when I came back, Cena was the guy and Orton was the guy, and they were having that massive feud, and it seemed like they wrestled each other every fucking month on every single pay-per-view all the time. And at the time, it sort of got a little bit old. But the more and more you think about it, the more and more you look back at these matches and some of this stuff they had, like the I Quit match, what they did, and some of the fucking awesome matches they had, like on a Raw or pay-per-views or Manias or whatever for that title. That was a big deal. It really was a big deal. Orton, for as much as I hate him, a little bit is because I do hate him as a heel, but most of it I do hate him because he's just a bit of a But when you look back at some of the matches, and he was the perfect foil for Cena. He really was the perfect foil for Cena. He was the perfect heel to fight against that goody two shoes, fucking, you know what I mean, Fruity Pebbles guy. They made all of the money. They made Cena a star for that sort of 2008 8, 9, 10 period or whatever when they were doing all their shit. They ran the business basically, and they had it on their back and they ran with it. So it's a long time. They made a lot of money. If you want to break it down to that sort of, you mean like how we staticize it or whatever. They made some money with those pay-per-views. They made some decent merch, and they made Cena the guy.
A Batman needs a Joker. Superman needs a Lex Luthor. John Cena needed a Randy Orton.
100%. He had some great feuds before. He had some good feuds before, but I think the Orton one was the one that put Cena on the map. I think I could have quite easily gone for a CM Punk one here, but I don't think it's as impactful for the WWE or for wrestling as the Cena and Orton one. It would have been way more for personal reasons if I went for Punk, and I think it would be just a bit like fucking dick swinging on Punk again. They had some great shit, but the Cena and Orton ones, when I started watching wrestling again and like watching it with my brother and watching it with our mates and all that sort of stuff, we hated Orton and we loved Cena. Like that was like the thing, you know what I mean? And yeah, so for personal memories, for like how I feel about it, but it was a big deal, huge deal. Cena versus Orton, it has to be on the list as one of the greatest feuds ever. I think once we look back 10, 15, 20 years down the line, we'll appreciate it a little bit more as well. Yeah, Cena and Orton.
Yeah. It's not on my list. It was on my wider list. There's the sort of 4 that I've got remaining, including honourable mention. Again, they just mean more to me. But yeah, I completely agree with you. I think unappreciated in its own time. I think, as you say, 10, 15, 20 years down the line, when we don't have John Cena and Randy Orton on a weekly or monthly or basis or whatever, that's when you'll appreciate it as much as we do. So I'm a big Randy Orton fan, you know that. And you know, I'm just going to refer back to some one of the podcasts in the back catalogue when you said that name me a Randy Orton match that is memorable. So fuck you, Huxley. I agree with you. But yeah, not on my wider list, but not on my top 10/11.
Yeah, cool.
Okie dokie. Nice, love it. Okay, well, moving on to your number 3, Hoxie.
It's Bret and Shawn. Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, in and out the ring. Everything happened. Fights, legit fights, hair pulling, slagging each other off, calling each other out on television for fucking sleeping with other people and all this bullshit.
Sunny days.
But when they got in the ring, it all happened. The magic happened. It brought out the best in each other and the worst in each other. They were special talents, and when you put them together, they just made beautiful music. And one of the most important periods of time in wrestling with the whole screw job was because of all of that. We've spoke about the screw job before. We've sort of went quite deep on the screw job with lots of different things and my own opinions on it and stuff like that. But some of the matches they had, the Iron Man match, which everyone talks about the Iron Man match as like this incredible thing. Like as a spectacle, the Iron Man match was amazing. But all you had to do was watch the last 2 minutes. Like you don't need to watch the whole thing. That's the thing with Iron Man matches. It's all about the score, and it's going to happen in the last couple of minutes. So, but it was a great match anyway. They had some phenomenal feuds. It was all for the big belt. Like I said, they brought out the best and the worst in each other. One of the greatest rivalries, professional rivalries and wrestling rivalries ever. Vince was a fucking genius for using that as fuel. They're sort of right. The professional rivalry started, and then they hated each other. and Vince just going, "Oh, I know what I'll do. I'll put them together." Like it's
good shit.
But he managed them to a certain degree until it got too much. But just Bret and Shawn. There isn't for people who are listening to a wrestling podcast, they will know about this. For the people who don't, they hated each other, and it ended in something catastrophic, but incredibly phenomenal, and a bit of a sliding doors moment for the wrestling industry ever. But they were two of the greatest to ever do it, and when you put them together, they were special. So Bret and Shawn, number 3. Easy peasy.
Easy every day, twice on
Twice on
Sundays.
Sunday. Yep.
100%, mate. Okay, moving on swiftly to my number 3 is, again, we talked about it when we watched the match in the WrestleMania watch along. It's Austin versus Rock. Two of the biggest stars ever in wrestling. The matches they put on, the pro. So obviously we know the promo segment we're talking about. But even if you just on a Monday Night Raw, for example, if you're watching just like when Austin's in the ring and then The Rock's on the stage, you know just magic's going to happen. And you know, again, you talked about Brett and Shawn not liking each other. Austin and Rock didn't like each other, you know, because they were both vying for the top spot, right? And that it could have went the opposite way, but it caused them both to excel and just reach levels of absolute greatness. Now, obviously, Austin is the GOAT, 1A, but The Rock helped Austin get there, you know, and it's one of those unique things where they're both baby faces. They're both over as fuck, right, as baby faces, and it still worked. Now, everybody knows in wrestling it should be a good guy versus a bad guy. These two were so over and such superstars in their own right. That didn't matter. It was just about two guys looking to beat the shit out of each other to be the absolute best in the industry. And, you know, and to headline WrestleManias not once, not twice, but 3 times. Just different gravy. It has to be one of the best modern day feuds. If you still classify it as modern day, it helped the Attitude Era go even further once, obviously, like Austin McMahon. Rock and Austin has to be on the list of any greatest feuds because it just was just so fucking good.
There's 2 generational talents around in the same generation, which doesn't happen very often. It's the Messi and Ronaldo, isn't it? Like, who's better?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's for a sort of a pop culture football sporting reference or whatever. It's literally that, isn't it? It's the thing is, with the greatest to ever do it around at the same time. Yeah.
And it's not just that; it's those two being head and shoulders above the other guys, which they were, and the other guys aren't slouches. You're talking a Mick Foley, you're talking an Undertaker, you're talking a Triple H, a Kurt Angle. Yeah. You know, it's like holy
first
shit.
Ballot Hall of Famers,
you know,
top quality superstars, like some of the greatest wrestlers ever. And they're not spoken about.
Fucking Mount Rushmore of wrestling.
Yeah. And they're not spoken about in the same breath. Yeah. It's nuts.
And they just caused each other to excel, right? And I think that's why the feud was so good. And
I would love
the reason why it's not further up.
I would love to see someone try and work out how much money they made for the WWE. Just those two together. Whatever metrics you want to use, I would love to see. So I would love somebody to have worked that out, or just to try and work it out and see a rough ballpark figure of what they made for the company. It would be amazing.
That's a challenge for you, the market of 10 audience. Right? If someone wants to accept that, right? Get us a number, okay? Give us what you've calculated out with, and then we'll read it out. And you know, it's got to be with a B, right?
An American B, potentially. Yeah.
It's got to be.
You'd think so.
Yeah, has to be.
Yeah.
Let us know. WrestleMark10 at gmail.com, Mark_out of 10 on Twitter, YouTube, DM us on Instagram, comment on our TikTok. Let's find out what we're going on. Okay, so that's my number 3, Austin versus Rock.
Cool.
Still me, number 2.
Yes.
Getting close to the end just now. Now, we often say that our number 1s are probably locked in, and this is the first time that I changed my 1 and 2 for a variety of different reasons.
Wow. Okay.
Right.
I'm getting myself comfortable with this. I'm sitting back.
now, there's reasons for this. Now, my number 2 is Undertaker and Kane, but it's very, very close. Okay, for me, for personal reasons. I think when you talk about storytelling, that is probably the most perfect piece of wrestling storytelling from start to finish. And I'll go into more detail when I reveal my number one, okay, as to why like I was flip-flopping so much. But from the backstory of like Paul Bearer introducing Kane in terms of just the name Kane, or just the name of the Undertaker's brother, to the debut, to the feud, to the Inferno match, to the Buried Alive matches, to them finally like settling their differences and becoming one of the most dominant tag teams in terms of the Brothers of Destruction, and then still being able to flip it so they can feud again in the future. I just think it is a perfect piece of cinematic like storytelling. Just absolutely brilliant.
It was a saga, right? It was a saga, wasn't it?
It was a
Yeah.
saga.
Yeah.
It's like, it was just impeccable, absolutely impeccable. And, you know, I'm a huge Undertaker fan. You know this. We've talked about this in the podcast before. Kane, again, was the perfect foil because, you know, we've talked about Mankind being that sort of psychotic thing, but it was the first time that someone stood toe-to-toe with The Undertaker and could look him in the eyes, you know? It was like looking at a carbon copy of The Undertaker, which was just phenomenal. And then as time went on, as I say, the team, The Undertaker's gimmick changed, but you could still believe there were still little nuances changed for Kane where it still fits, it still fitted. And, you know, and I think the addition of Percy Pringle, you know, like Paul Bearer, perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. You know, it's just a thing of beauty. And for me, it had to go in there as one of the best feuds of all time. And it was very, very close to my number one spot.
I said earlier on when I was talking about The Undertaker and Mankind at my number 5,
Yeah.
it was really close between Undertaker and Kane, Mankind and Michaels or whatever in that little bracket. I agree. It was it was the gift that kept on giving, and there was so much meat on the bone. The way they laid it out, and the way you can do anything. Are they brothers? Are they not? The brothers' instruction, obviously, with the tag team stuff they done later on, they were always hand in hand. They were always tied together. Yeah, it was so good. That fucking Kane debut as well was sick. Just ripping the fucking
That's
door.
gotta be Kane.
It's gotta be Kane's ripping the cage door off, and just they were off to the races, right? So good, so good,
So good.
Yeah, I knew.
It's like goosebump. It's a goosebump.
Yeah, I knew this would be up there
honestly.
for you. Jenny, I knew this would be up there for you, so I could have called that. But yeah, I can't argue against it, mate. Can't argue against it, and I know you love Taker as well. So yeah, crack on.
I mean, you could argue, but you'd be fucking wrong.
Exactly. You can't argue.
Okay, Hoxie, moving over
it's hard
to
tell the difference, right?
True story. Okay, moving on to your number 2, my friend. Your number 2 of best feuds.
We've just spoke about it. Rock and Austin. I can't add anything more to that, so we'll go across this really quickly. Like all the reasons that you said, all the little discussion that I put in, the way the Rock and Austin thing makes me feel is just very special. But there's just something that pipped it. Something that just pipped it. And I'm looking forward to speaking about that. But yeah, Rock and Austin, number 2.
Fair enough.
Easy.
So,
Nice
ladies and
quick.
gents, what we do now is we go on. We have a top 10, but we always have what's called an honourable mention, something that we feel that is deserving to be on the list, but we couldn't find a way of getting it on there for us. So yeah, Hoxie, over to you for your honourable mention this week.
We've already spoke about this tonight. You've already spoke about this. It's the Rock and Roll and the Midnights.
Okay.
It's I can't really add much to what you said earlier on. Was it your number 10? Your number 10?
Number 9.
Or 9, yeah, and it was somewhere around there. But it's just with the cornet effect, and they're two of the best tag teams in history. We've had discussions about these tag teams in our tag team episode, which will be in the archives, so go and check it out. All of the money they had, Greensboro, Charlotte, like fucking Georgia, like Georgia, North Carolina, like the Carolinas, Florida, wherever you would go in the South, the Rock and Roll and the Midnights would sell it out. They had amazing feuds. Cornette on the stick, just firing everybody up. Literally, people wanting to stab this guy and stab the fucking midnights, like. And the Rockers were just perfect, and they literally brought the best out of each other. For greatest feuds ever, and especially in that time period, that 80s period, is probably one of the biggest feuds of the time. It doesn't get spoken about as much as it should do. I think people really, I don't think they're necessarily underappreciated or like don't think about it in a certain way. I just think it sort of goes everyone thinks like, oh, Flair and Dusty or Flair and Steamboat or fucking Hogan or whatever. Like, this was a big deal, a fucking huge deal. It was a shame it was probably just in WCW because people think, oh, it's just like a Southern wrestling thing. It wasn't. It was a big deal. So the Rock and Roll in the Midnights, yeah, just great. And their matches were fucking so good. So good. Yeah.
Four of the best workers ever, man. Just
Yes.
so fucking good.
Yep.
Incredible. Okie dokie. Moving on to my honourable mention. It's one that you've mentioned very recently, Brett and Sean. Now, I was actually swithering to do whether it was DX and Heart Foundation, but nah, it had to be just the Brett and Sean because of the individual, sort of brilliance of them. I can't really add anything to what you said. That it was just sort of lightning in the bottle, right? And, you know, we've talked about it all the time. As real life issues is the stuff that causes you to feel stuff. You know, we talked about it in the Eddie Guerrero thing with addiction. It's exactly the same. They fucking hated each other, despised each other. Now, Sean had his flaws. Brett did as well, you know, and it was like oil and water. They just did not mix.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. You know, they just did not mix. But when they stepped through the ropes, it's different gravy, man. Two of the best to ever do it. You know, both of them well within the discussion of being on the Rushmore of wrestling. The best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be versus the showstopper, Mr. WrestleMania. You know what I mean? It's just...
They were both the same thing.
Real life
just
cells.
Packaged differently, weren't they? Literally, they were both the same.
Yes, same thing. Opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
100%. It's the best way to put it.
Yeah, fascinating. Very similar to Rock and Austin, where they were like sort of generational kind of talents around at the same time. Maybe not as big, but like in that time, they were probably around about that sort of level, weren't they?
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, absolutely.
Some of the stuff they did was just phenomenal. Yeah. Cool.
So good. So we've already done it. So what we'll do now, before we reveal our number ones, I've got a funny feeling it could be probably the same number one. I'll go through my 10 to honourable mention. Hawks will then do the same, and then we'll get into the last one. So my number 10 was Omega and Okada. Number 9 was Midnight Express versus Rock and Roll Express. Number 8 was FTR versus American Alpha. Fuck you, it's a great feud. Number 7 was Hogan and Andre. Number 6 was Undertaker Mankind. 5 was FTR and the Briscoes. 4 were those damn Dudleys, Edge and Christian and the Hardy Boys. Number 3 was Austin and Rock. 2, Taker and Kane. And my honourable mention goes to Shawn Michaels and Bret the Hitman Hart. Hoxie?
So my number 10 was Mitsuharu Misawa and Kenta Kobashi. Number 9, Kenny Omega, Kazuchika Okada. Number 8, Hogan and Andre. Number 7, Flair and Steamboat. Number 6, Sting and NWO. Fuck you. Number 5, Undertaker and Mankind. Number 4, Cena and Orton. Number 3, Brett and Sean. Number 2, Rock and Austin. And my honourable mention is the Rock and Roll Express and the Midnights with Jim Cornette.
Okie dokie. Right. As I say, I think we probably got the same number one, but it's my turn. So my number 1, Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Vince McMahon.
Mine's
greatest feud in wrestling.
Yeah.
It had to be, right? I mean, I say it had to be. As I say, mine was very, very close. And the reason why I was...
for personal, though, wasn't it, more than anything else?
No.
No? Okay.
It was the ending of the Austin McMahon feud, or the period of the last... You know, it was the booking of it when Austin joined forces with McMahon. It just... In terms of long-term storytelling, it just didn't fit. You know, whereas I think Undertaker and Kane, as I said, I think it was just perfect storytelling. Everything sort of fit and it worked. Whereas that particular segment of the Austin McMahon sort of story just wasn't. I can understand why they did it, but there's just something about it that gives you a bit of an ick. I just don't get it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the reason why it eventually got to number one is just it made all the money. It created the Attitude Era. It changed the business forever, right? It spoke to the everyday man in terms of wanting to kick fuck out his own boss. You know, that's what it spoke to, and that's what transcended the business, basically. So yeah, that's why it was my number one.
Bless you. I think when it comes to I've spoke about this before. We've spoke about this before. I'm not going to reiterate it, if you know what I mean, but there'll be people who listen to this who haven't listened to the show before, and we talk about sliding doors moments. We talk about these big, poignant changes or trajectory changes or whatever, or choices within history. The stunner from Stone Cold onto Mr. McMahon was a game changer I think, for entertainment. I think for television. I think for the way wrestling is portrayed, for the way stars are portrayed, for the transcending of talents from a wrestler into the real world. There's so many things that we look at that we probably not necessarily take for granted, but we don't realize stemmed from that moment in time. It's a huge deal. A huge deal. I genuinely don't think we understand how much of a big deal this actually is. Like we talk about it as being like a massive moment, but I don't think we know exactly how much impact it's had. Like it's huge, but I don't think we appreciate actually the grander scale of it. It was. I mean, what was it? Fuck me, WrestleMania last year. Was it WrestleMania last year with the stunner? That was like 20 years after the fact, 25 years after the fact.
Yeah.
And it was still as big then as it was that, like,
still
big
shit.
What it was then. It was shit, but everybody wanted it, didn't they? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it was
exactly.
it was a huge deal. It was the biggest thing for that whole WrestleMania weekend. It was not last year.
It was a perfect exclamation point. It was a perfect exclamation point on that feud.
It was just amazing.
It went full circle.
Yeah. Full circle, 25 years later or whatever. The money, the matches, the stars that it made coming out from that, the feuds that branched off from that, obviously the corporate like ministry and the corporation and all these other fucking bells and whistles that were attached to it. And it made Stone Cold was on his way to being the guy anyway. But as soon as that kicked off, it was just stratospheric, just straight off to the races. All the merch money, all the pay-per-views, all the sellouts. WWE had never had that before, ever. They had Hulkamania, which was a level, but I think Stone Cold and Vince took it to the nth degree. Stone Cold and Vince is way more important in wrestling than any other feud in the history of wrestling that's ever been before. Yeah. I would love somebody to argue against that fact with not necessarily feelings and stuff, but actual like statistics. I think it's the biggest, most important thing that's ever happened in wrestling. There's sliding doors moments, there's important shit, but this for me is the biggest thing that's ever happened. Yeah. So it wasn't even for me. This was number one, and then the rest of them are 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way down here.
Like I say, it was a head versus heart discussion that I had.
Yeah,
you know, in terms of and like I say, there is that blip in terms of you know the Rock match, Austin joining forces with Vince McMahon, and it leaves a sour taste in your mouth. But again, that could be testament to the storytelling they had. It was such a hatred they had for each other, right? And it was so, you just couldn't imagine them doing that, working with Vince McMahon. So potentially that's what it is from me. It's still real to me, damn it. You know, that sort of thing. So, but I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you. I think in terms of where we are in the business, that is the feud. I don't think we'll ever see the like of it again. I don't think it'll.
No.
I mean, there will be another boom in wrestling. Okay, of course there will be. We know that, but
It's cyclical, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. There's peaks and troughs and everything, and wrestling is no exception to that. But there will not, and certainly not in our lifetime, Hoxie, there will not be a feud that takes it to that stratospheric level again. I don't think we'll ever reach that high. And and as I said, the stunner the other year there at WrestleMania, it was a full circle moment. It was the exclamation point to the perfect feud. And the last stunner was terrible. The first stunner was awful as well. But at the same time, the awful first stunner worked because it looked vicious, right? It looked like he wasn't doing a wrestling move. It looked like he was just trying to hurt his boss, which
Yes.
worked.
Yeah.
But yeah,
if you think about some of the moments that were involved in this feud, right? So you've got the beer truck. Yep. Obviously you've got the stunner. You've got the beer truck. You've got the pan, the hospital bed thing. Yeah. You've got the gun, the bang when he pees his pants. You know what I mean? The Royal Rumble match they had when fucking Vince won it, just coming out all fucking jacked to fuck. All the ministry stuff.
The Tyson moment.
Tyson. It was me, Austin. Maybe not necessarily the best, but it was me all along. Like all these phenomenal stuff. Like it's special, really special. The more and more I think about it, it makes me feel like a little kid. But it was just, I do 100,000,000% agree with you. With the turn was shit. We've spoke about this on WrestleMania 17 show that we did, but you can't have that outweigh how important it was. And we've spoke about this before. The Montreal screw job, like it was the perfect moment. All the planets and the moons aligned to do something with that. And there was no one better to do it with than Stone Cold. Just perfect. Beautiful. I'm so happy I was around 100%. For it. So happy I was around for it.
Oh, yeah. It's moments. That's what it's about. That's what wrestling is all about. And that's what we're all about here at Mark Out of 10. So thank you to everybody that has listened this evening. Do you agree with us? Do you disagree? Let us know on all the socials. I'm going to run through them again. So bear with me. Make sure you email us at wrestlemark10@gmail.com. Tweet us at Mark_out of 10. You can comment on our YouTube channel. Make sure you sub and like the video. You can also DM us on Instagram at Mark Out of 10, and we're also on TikTok. So get following us on TikTok and liking it. Make sure you hit 5 stars on this podcast. Share it to a friend. It does mean a lot. We are slowly growing. We've had some really interesting stats in terms of where the podcast is. It's phenomenal. We're not going to reveal it yet.
No. Just keep going. Keep plugging, guys. Keep sharing.
Keep it going.
www.streamaware.co.uk.
Really in awe.
Streamaware.co.uk for the merch, for the hoodie. Tell your friends. Share it on Instagram. Take your pictures with it. Like I said, I'll give you a personalised phone call if you want for the first 5 purchases.
And
of the
we're
merch.
not going to stop. And we're not going to stop there either. We've got a whole list of other things planned for us. If you are an independent wrestler within the UK and you want to be on our podcast, we were thinking about doing an interview type segment with independent wrestlers throughout the UK. Let us know, email us, we can talk it through, we'll tell you what we've got planned, and then we go from there. Next week's episode, Hoxie, we've had the discussion. I haven't thrown this upon you, we had the discussion, and next week's episode, do you want to reveal it?
Next week's episode, we are going to do the top 10 greatest intercontinental champions in history. So it's obviously going to be very limited to WWE, but I think this is really interesting. If you think about some of the names that have held that title over the years since its inception, it's pretty special. I'm looking forward to that. Very much looking forward to it.
I think there's probably more on this list than there would be on the WWF Champions list.
Yeah, it's a great point.
It's going to be really, really fun.
We'll be rewriting it 30 seconds before we go live again. What do I do? But yeah,
welcome to Mark Out of 45.
Yeah. Part 1.
Thank you to everybody that's Thank you to everybody that has listened and stayed on. It's been a long one tonight. From Shields, have a very nice day.
And from Hawksey, have a great one. Cheers, guys. Love you.